Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Paul Felder, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me, dude.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
I love what you've done because I think every professional athlete, every fighter, when you're done competition, you need something to drive you. And you decided to go into triathlons, which I think is fucking awesome.
Yeah. And I stumbled upon it. I didn't have any idea what I was going to do when it was all said and done. I thought, I'll be like everybody else. I'll do grappling competitions. I'll hit pads. I'll stay active. But that's still not the same as getting into the cage and actually fighting somebody. And I stumbled upon this guy, Lionel Sanders, who I kind of found on YouTube, just looking up run workouts. Because I was getting bored during the pandemic. I was going outside. I was going for these runs, and they were getting boring. You just run I was like, how do guys do this? You're just running to run all the time, and like there's no structure or anything. And I found one of his workouts in Arizona where he was running. It was like 107 degrees, and he's doing like crazy tempo workouts. And I was like, oh my God,
what's a tempo workout?
So, like, all your runs kind of break down into, you have your easy miles aerobic, right? And then you have where you kind of go a little bit, you're not quite going as hard as you're going to go for a race. And that's like tempo. So you're upping your heart rate into that kind of zone 3 area where you're keeping it right there. You're not going threshold, which, kind of just below all out. And he was doing that, and it was like 100 and something degrees. And I was like, this dude's out of his fucking mind. And I started following all his stuff. And then I started realizing how crazy this sport is. If you really watch these guys, they're freak athletes, these guys. Plus, MMA, right? You wrestling, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, boxing, traditional martial arts. Well, now I found this other sport that's totally new to me that I know nothing about that I can dive into. And it's all these different disciplines. So I can be an idiot all over again and not just pick one sport. I can do all 3 of these things. And I didn't even know how to swim.
Yeah,
I grew up in South Philly.
Bilal told me.
Oh, bro, I've swam with Bilal. If I don't know how to swim, Bilal super doesn't know how to swim. He sucks, but he does it just like anything. He gets in there and he does it. I've swam with him. He's done a triathlon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did it on like a borrowed bike, a borrowed wetsuit, which was like a surfing wetsuit, like not what you would go and swim in cold water with for having any flexibility in your shoulders. But yeah.
So these triathlons, like how long does it take to complete one of those?
Well, it depends. Right? There's sprint distance, which is a really short one. I mean, you can do those. The guys are doing those like under an hour, like 45 minutes, 30 minutes. You can do some of them. It's like a quarter of a mile swim. It'll be like a 10-mile bike, and then I think a 5K.
And it's always swim, bike, run?
Swim, bike, run. Unless you're doing like Super League stuff, which is just this other organization that's now kind of mixing up the order of which they'll do things. A lot of these races, they'll do swim, bike, run, swim, bike, run, swim, bike, run. So these dudes are literally, and women, are tucking their caps and their goggles and stuff while they're riding on the bike and stuff like that. And then they pull it back out as they're sprinting to the water, putting their cap back on their goggles and diving in after having just run, probably like sub 5-minute miles, diving back into the water to not be able to breathe correctly.
Jesus.
It's the scariest thing of it all. But the ones I do the most are 70.3s. So it's like the half Ironman distance. So it's 70.3 miles. It's 1.2 mile swim, 56-mile bike, and then a half marathon.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I started with that like an absolute jabroni that I am. Everybody's like, do a sprint, do an Olympic. I was like, no, I want to do this one. And I did. And oh my God.
Well, I remember the first time I saw you when we were getting ready for a show, we were in the green room getting changed. And
I remember this.
What are you doing? I'm like,
you look like shit.
I'm like, are you on Adderall or something?
You thought I looked like a crackhead.
You look
like a crackhead.
You were so sucked in.
Because I had just done that race. So when you saw me, I was still trying to even, like days ago, I had done that race. And it's like cutting weight.
Fucking 20 pounds running one of those and doing the swim and doing the bike.
You probably lose about 10, and that's with
hydration.
Hydrating the whole time, yeah.
Whew. And so how far are you going to try to push this?
To the absolute limits of being an amateur because I'll never be. I mean, these guys, Joe, that do it pro. I mean,
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. You're
I
a
would
psycho.
love to do it
You're a
professionally,
psycho.
man.
Yeah, that's what
but
I'm
I don't
saying.
even want to say that. I feel like it's disrespectful to the guys that I know that are pro and how fast they are to say that yet. All I want to say now is I want to do it and I want to win age groups, right? And my age group, 35 to 39 is these dudes are fast because a lot of them come from a collegiate background of some sort of, whether it be swimming, cross country, track. And then same as me coming from MMA, they don't have that anymore and they find triathlon, but they at least have the base of an endurance sport. Whereas MMA is not, as much as we want to say you have to have great endurance, and you do, which most guys still seem to don't understand that, but it's not the same. Like 25 minutes is the longest fight that we could possibly have.
Right.
That's the swim.
But when you have a guy who has great endurance, they have such an advantage. Like Nick Diaz in his prime would put a pace on people that they could not fucking keep up with. I remember when Nick Diaz was at his peak, when he was in Strikeforce, when he was a champ over there. You remember those days? Mm-hmm. Dude, he was putting a fucking pace on
And he would
people.
get his ass beat for the first 5-10 minutes of a fight.
He would force a slugfest, so someone would try to go all out.
Yeah.
And he would be hitting them like 50, 60%. And then every now and then he'd dig. Every now
To
and
the
then
body
he'd dig.
in particular.
Yeah.
Like the Paul Daly, I think, fight.
What a
I'll
fight.
never freak that
What a
one.
fight.
I'm like, oh, he's dead. He's done. There's
Paul
no chance.
Daly has the most ridiculous left hand I think I've ever seen in the business.
Yeah.
He is so, and he's so skillful.
Yeah.
So slick in his maneuvering and like the way he sets up uppercuts and hooks.
Yeah.
His fucking left hand is a weapon, man. And he bombed on Nick
crushed him.
Diaz. Woo!
Crushed him.
I thought he was done.
And he just did what the Diaz brothers do. They take that shit.
It's crazy.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Crazy how they take it.
And that's gotta, like, that demoralizes you, man. Like, you're you're in a cage fight with all these people watching, and you got this crazy son of a bitch going, come on, man, that's
come
all
on,
you
hit
got?
me again. Yeah.
And you're known for knocking dudes out like that? You just, your heart immediately, you shit it out. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm.
Which is credit to Josh Thompson, because Josh Thompson is the only guy to ever stop
Put his shin right upside that head. That's
legitimately
what he did.
stopped Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
Legitimately stopped him. But that's like, the way he landed it too was so perfect.
Yeah.
It was like the perfect head kick.
Well, he was like bent over.
Yeah.
He still wasn't
Perfect.
out.
Still wasn't out. Crazy how tough those guys are.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think a giant factor in especially Nick's early success was
cardio.
The cardio.
Yeah.
And he's known for doing a lot of like long runs and
He does triathlons, and they do. I know even just recently, a guy, this kid Justin that I train with, did Xterra. He did an Xterra race with him.
What
and
is
he's
an
like,
Xterra?
dude, so that it's more like mountain biking, trail running, as opposed to the TT bike out on a highway type. The waters are a little bit more rugged. It'll be a little bit colder, crazier areas that you're racing in. So it's a little more like wilderness type racing, but it's still a triathlon, still swim, bike, run. But you'll be up and down, you'll be running through trails and like through trees and over stuff like that.
running from bears, swimming away from sharks.
Yeah, well, don't talk about. I was just in Rio and I was swimming in the ocean every day, and I know everybody's like, "Oh, there's no sharks there," but
Are there
dude,
no
you
sharks
can't
there?
help but when you're swimming in the open water, you kind of. I had a can of soda brushed by me at one point, and I almost pooped myself. I swear to God.
My friend Peter Attia, he swam all the Hawaiian Islands.
Yeah.
He did this crazy swim, and he was training for this in San Diego. And I think the week he was training, some guy got eaten by a great white shark. So he's out there in the very waters where a guy got bit in half.
Yeah.
And apparently they were all training for a triathlon, these people that were doing it.
Yeah.
So there was like a run of them. There was like 10, 15 guys swimming, and just one of them, ka-chong.
My first race this year is in Oceanside, so
Where's Oceanside?
it's like outside of San Diego.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Oh,
yeah,
God.
April 1st.
Oh, my goodness.
April 1st. It's
Fuck.
ocean swim.
Fuck all that. I was in Maui last November, and a buddy of mine was just there this past, Duncan was there, when? 2 months ago? And some lady was snorkeling with her husband, And the guy pops his head up, and they're screaming at him from the shore, "Get back in shore!" And he looks over, and there's all this blood in the water and thrashing. And he gets to the shore, and he realizes it's his wife. They never even found her.
Yeah, well, because she's gone.
Yeah. Oh, God. Diver decapitated by 19-foot great white shark in the Gulf of California, report says. Local divers have been warned about the presence of sharks in the area. Fuck that. Does this just happen?
Yeah, January 5th. It happened.
Oh.
They paid him extra money to go down because no one would go get the mollusks, so he went and didn't make it back out.
Oh, my. Mollusks. Like, what kind of mollusks?
They're like, and also, I guess they're 20 meters down or so, 10 to 20 meters down, so he was down a pretty specific
So
amount.
he's down really low, and a 19-foot shark decapitated him?
36 to 59
Oh,
feet,
my
actually.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Crazy.
Fuck that, Paul Felder.
Can't
what are you
wait for
doing?
that swim. And the best part is we wear black wetsuits that make us look like big old seals flopping around. And
Do you have to wear a black one? Can't you wear like a neon
I mean, if you
green
can find,
one?
if you can find a bright, I don't know, do sharks see and do they see color though?
They probably don't see shit.
Black and white. So that pink one is white, I guess, to them.
Yeah, it's like the
I don't know.
underbelly of something delicious.
Well, there's thousands of us out there, so you just got to be lucky.
Oh boy.
You just got to be lucky.
Fuck, man.
Well, I did a race in Florida, and there was 100% a gator off on the side that somebody sent me a picture, thank God, after the race. They're like, oh, by the way, this was sitting on the side of the lake that you guys were swimming in, just waiting for us to finish.
If you're in Florida, virtually any body of water could have an alligator.
100%.
Which is so weird.
It could be like in a development, and there's like a little pond, and they might just be like, oh, I'm just going to go take a splash in here.
Oh, yeah. I remember like a year ago, some old lady who was walking in this beautiful gated community in North Carolina, and she got snatched up.
Yeah. They'll eat dogs and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. I used to live in Gainesville. And when I lived there, back then, alligators were endangered. So you couldn't kill them. So they were everywhere. And people would feed them marshmallows. There's a place called Lake Alice. We go to Lake Alice and throw marshmallows into the
wonder why
water.
marshmallows of all things.
People they found out they would eat them, so they'd throw them in. You know,
Throw some graham crackers at them.
they'd
too,
eat
while you're at it.
chicken too. They eat meat, whatever the fuck you want to
That's
feed
what I
them.
would think. I would think
Yeah.
protein.
But they're fucking monsters. I hate those things. They really drive me crazy.
I mean, they're truly, a dinosaur, basically,
Yeah.
that still lives.
Yeah, just a heartless fucking reptile.
Just
Ugh.
wants to rip your leg off
Ugh. And
roll.
There's a video that I put up on my Instagram from one of those like Nature is Brutal or Nature's Metal pages, and it's a crocodile grabs this wild pig and snaps it in half, and it's got it by the jaws, and it just
Just rips it straight off.
just with like a flick of its neck.
I've seen one of those, and dude, you see them. These guys still have they're so stupid to. Oh, I'm gonna put my hand or put your hand in there.
Oh yeah, all the
It's
time.
like it's going to shred everything off of you if it can.
Yeah. There's like sideshows that they do where guys like touch the inside of the crocodile's
They
mouth.
screw up, right? Because I think
Oh,
that's what
yeah.
happens if you touch their tongue or something like that. Because otherwise, I don't think it even knows what you're doing. It's just waiting.
Yeah.
And the guy's not paying attention, slips up. Oh, see ya. Man, look at this guy. Florida man.
Oh, God, he lost his arm? Shares survival story after alligator rips off arm. He gets lost in a swamp for 3 days. Oh, I saw that guy.
Now, let's be fair. He doesn't look like
Whatever
he's
meth
got much
he was
else
on.
going on.
Yeah, that meth kept him alive through that entire journey.
Yeah, he
3
didn't-
days
he didn't
lost
feel
in a
much of that
swamp
one.
with no arm.
Florida man.
That might be just a cover story for some fucking crazy meth explosion.
Yeah.
Man, a gator got me. I swear to God, I don't fucking even touch meth. It was
Nope.
a goddamn gator.
Goddamn gators.
It's just any sport that involves maybe getting eaten.
Yeah. You're not going to get eaten inside of the octagon. I mean, it's definitely a safe environment as far as MMA. You just got to deal with the other maniac in there that's trying to kill you.
What was the catalyst for you deciding to retire? Because you retired in like prime age. Like you were like, how old were you when you first decided?
I guess when I first said it after the Hooker fight, I was, 37.
Yeah, so it's like at the end.
Yeah. But I started late, too. I didn't turn professional until I was 28, I think.
Wow. When was your first amateur fight?
I think I was like 26.
Really?
Yeah.
So when did you start training?
Well, so I did Taekwondo since I was a little kid. Started 12 years old doing that and competed Junior Olympics, you know, wearing the hogus and all that kind of stuff. Did all the traditional Taekwondo tournaments. And I used to get kicked out of some of these things because I'd throw punches or I'd throw too hard. Like I remember one time my mom ended up getting into this huge argument with this guy because I was hitting her son too hard in a martial arts competition.
Oh, God.
But
Parents.
oh, dude. And my mom is like the sweetest woman in the world. But as soon as somebody talks ill of me or steps to me, my mom's ready to throw down. She's the one who taught me how to fight, man.
Wow.
Yeah, I got stories about mom. But I did that all the way through until I was in college.
And you were...
And then I went to acting school.
Yeah, you were a theater major.
I went to school for theater, yeah.
Yeah.
And I kind of stopped training hardcore, but still taught karate at the school that I got my black belt at when I was a kid while going to school in Philly for acting. I was still teaching the little kids. Oh. And then I was working professionally in like the Philadelphia theater scene, which isn't anything major, but there's some good professional theater companies there. I was doing that for a little while. And in the summers, the theaters... They're dark. There's not much going on. And a buddy of mine that I used to train with took an amateur fight. And I used to kind of get the better of him. And he went and did well on this amateur fight down in Atlantic City. New Breed Fighting is what it was called. And I was like, I could do that. So I waited a whole year, did the next summer, signed up for one of those fights. And dude, that was it. That walkout. The crowd, like all your friends and family being there, you're walking out to fight somebody else. I remember having migraines. I remember like vomiting afterwards. I was so anxious, so nervous, and I won. And I remember telling all my acting friends at the time we were drinking in like the back of somebody's like South Philly row home, and they're like, "That was crazy, man. Are you done?" And I was like, "Fuck no." I was like, "I have to do that again, and I have to do it better than I did that time." And so a year later, I signed up for another one. Following summer, New Breed, but I knew what to do now. So I trained properly. I went to a Muay Thai school to train for it. I did jiu-jitsu for it. And I beat the crap out of this kid in my second fight. Leg kicked the dog shit out of him. And it was a decision, but I was like, all right, that was cleaner. Then I did another one. And now I thought I was too cool for school. And I got choked out in my third amateur fight. Got triangle choked by this kid, Max Bohannon, who was like a prodigy from, he was from Ricardo Almeida's school and trained with him. And he choked the shit out of me. And then I was like, okay, now I got to start doing real grappling and real jiu-jitsu. And I started training with jiu-jitsu schools and stuff like that. And I did one more amateur fight, a spinning back kick to the liver. I knocked this kid out in my fourth amateur fight. And then I went pro because the rules in PA, shin guards, big, huge, puffy gloves, 2-minute rounds. What the hell are you supposed to do as a striker with 2 minutes? You're a wrestler. You get one takedown, you won the round. That's it. So when I turned pro, I was like, okay, I'll do one pro fight just to say I was a pro athlete, just to say that I did it. Honest to God, that's why I did it. I was like, I'm going to go back to acting. And I was still doing professional shows in between getting ready for fights. Won the fight, flying knee, TKO the dude. They took him out on a stretcher. It was for CFFC. They had to stop the show because they only had one ambulance.
Oh, wow.
So the ambulance had to take the guy, and shout out to him, Toomey Goodrum. You're still the man. But they took him out, and they had to wait for the ambulance to come back. So I'd stopped the show in my first
wow,
my first pro fight.
One ambulance?
And it took him out they took him out on a stretcher.
No, but I mean one ambulance.
One ambulance, yeah, and they never did that again.
Yeah.
They never did that again. If anything, I showed them you need to have 2 ambulances at these things.
So you get some fights in some small organizations.
Yeah.
And then how old?
Mainly Cage Fury, who, thank God that's kind of who I stumbled upon. So I was already kind of with one of the better regional promotions to begin with. I lucked out with that. I fought in Pittsburgh, I think, once or twice, and then, and I fought for CFFC.
And how many fights did you have before you got into the UFC?
I was 8-0. I was 8-0 when I got signed. I think I had like 6 knockouts, a bunch in the first round, and that's when I started putting the acting like way on the back burner. I was like, wow, I might actually be able to get into the UFC. It was that was never. I mean, never the goal was to get in the UFC from the beginning. But then once I started winning, I always trained my ass off. You know, just like I am with triathlon or with whether it be acting, whether it be fighting, commentary. Like I'm trying to put myself into it, and the wins started coming. And then I remember I knocked out this kid in Atlantic City in my last fight with CFFC. A spinning hook kick to the This is it. Bam!
Oh.
And look, I got more damage from the ref throwing me into the cage than I did in that whole fight.
What did you weigh here?
That's 155. I was just smaller. You know, years,
Shredded.
dude, think about like you know how it is.
Yeah.
The years and years of you doing strength and conditioning and you building up those muscles and your bones get denser and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I mean, by the time I got to the UFC, plus the lightweights were so big, I remember thinking like I have to be bigger than these guys. And I had this complex that I had to weigh so much, so I'd go and get so fat in between fights. And it's one regret I have. Looking back, I would have stayed leaner and in better shape all year round and not done the drastic weight cuts that I did.
Is that like the thing that you worry the most about? We were talking about that earlier.
Well, I know for sure that I've hurt my kidneys to the point where even after fights, like I've had rhabdo after the Dan Hooker fight. I was like peeing Coca-Cola.
Ugh.
And they made me stay in the hospital for like an extra day or two to monitor my kidneys. I almost had compartment syndrome from that fight. They were going to have to slice my calf open. I've obviously lost a piece of my lung in the James Vick fight.
How'd that happen?
At the end of the fight, he knees me, and it pushed in my rib cage. A lot of people thought my rib cage broke. It didn't. Nothing broke, but I had they call it like a bleb on your lung that you would only know about if somebody went in there or something happened to it. So it's like a bubble that naturally forms on your lungs, and it's okay unless something hits it. Well, that knee just so happened to hit right on that spot, and it just so happened that I had this thing on my lung, and it burst.
Whoa.
So it collapsed my lung. And since it collapsed, that part of my lung was then damaged. And it would normally, if you like fall really hard doing snowboarding or something like that, or you know, if you're rock climbing, you fall and you land on your ribs, you can puncture them by breaking your ribs, or you can just, the impact can kind of almost like blow it out. And a lot of times they'll go back on their own. Like they'll reinflate. Your lungs will kind of heal themselves. Or they call it like a pigtail or something. They inserted this tube down into my lung, which was like a vacuum. It would suck the air around my lung and my chest wall out, forcing the lung to go back around where it was supposed to. And that wouldn't work. So like 3 days went by. They did that for a couple of days, wouldn't work. And then finally the surgeons came in. They're like, we're going to have to go in, find where the bleb was, cut it out, staple your lung shut, and then adhere your lung to your chest wall. So my left lung is attached to the inside of my chest wall. Like an elephant. Apparently elephants, their lungs are actually attached to the inside of their chest wall. So this lung, like if you stab me here, and it would never fully collapse again.
Wow.
I'm like a superhero
Does
on
it
this side.
change the way,
Except for the inch that I'm missing
move?
from it.
Does it change the way your body moves? Do you feel it?
No, I will get a cramp every now and then in the surgery area that they have. I still have a scar. It goes right across like Jesus, like where they, it's like right along here.
Wow.
That was miserable, dude. That's one of the many things. I know we kind of went on a tangent, but retirement was like, I can't.
You broke your forearm in the Mike Perry fight.
Broke my forearm in that one. You guys called that one nice. You could tell by the way I was holding my hand funny, and I remember in between rounds going like this, and I could feel the bones crunching together on this side. And I told Duke, I was like, he's like, I know, baby, I know.
It's so common with those spinning back fists.
Yeah.
So common. You hit
and then
the
you know what's
forehead.
dumber is throwing it like 8 more times in the same fight. And I remember I think it was you and Dom, like, oh God, stop throwing that arm.
How
But
many
it's
people have done
instinctual.
that? So many people have shattered their forearm.
Dom had done that in training.
Really?
Which is why when he's calling with you, He's going, oh,
Wincing.
because he knows exactly what
Yeah.
it feels like. Yeah. Stupid, man.
Yeah, spinning back fist and catching that forearm to the forehead.
Right on
so
the forehead.
Common.
Just snaps it in half.
I mean, it's such a, obviously,
your forehead
vulnerable.
is so freaking dense.
Yeah, you get that. You get a lot of breaks from checking kicks incorrectly or
Yeah.
blocking kicks incorrectly.
I love that. You know what I regret never getting injury-wise? I know it sounds silly to say, but the slices on the shin that you see all these guys getting from checking kicks, and your shin is just like pouring blood.
Bro, whose shins are harder than Jan Blachowicz? That Ankalaev fight, he's just like
mangled
going
him
shin
with
to
that.
shin with him.
Yeah.
Like, holy fuck, man.
Polish guys, man.
But it's him. I don't know if it's all Polish guys, but that motherfucker
tough.
made out of wood.
Yeah.
He's different.
Yeah,
He just went shin to shin with him.
he doesn't care.
Yeah, I mean, that was very, very impressive. Because we were like, this is crazy.
That hurts, man.
Yeah.
You've gone shin.
yeah.
It hurts.
Horrible. And he's just cracking them.
Yeah.
Just getting in there with it.
It's like
You know?
two baseball bats just.
Yeah.
And people, it's like you when you see people kind of criticize, the leg kicks, they're not that bad. It's like,
Oh, you don't know.
bro, you have no idea.
Anybody who says that, let me kick you.
Just one time.
Just let me kick you one time.
One time.
I won't even do it all the way.
No.
I'll kick you 50%.
Yeah, not even 20.
They
Give somebody
deserve
20%.
They deserve 50.
Imagine the calf kick. Give
Oh.
him just 20% of a calf kick. It's like, do you like walking?
I've only been calf kick fucking around. I never calf kicked either in training or in a fight because there was no calf kicks back then. Like Bisping told me he went his entire career without getting calf
No,
kicked.
of course, yeah.
Which is crazy.
The first time that I had actually, the first time I ever experienced it was when I fought. You remember Mark Stevens from The Ultimate Fighter?
No.
Way back in the day, he was on like Team Koscheck. I fought him outside of the UFC before I got in, and he was training down at ATT. And those guys have been throwing that calf kick for a long time, and he probably landed about 4 or 5. And I remember thinking, like, what the fuck is he doing? He's missing my thigh.
Right.
But then I remember like kind of moving around in the second round, like, holy shit, this is cramping up really bad. And luckily I got him out of there. But that was the first. And then Dan Hooker was the other time that I had
Dan
really
Hooker's
been.
very good at it. He's very good at it.
Because he just places it. Mm-hmm. He just touches you. And you're like, oh, that wasn't that hard.
Benson Henderson was the first.
Yeah.
He was the first guy that I ever saw use it
He
in
also
UFC.
would punch you in the thigh. Mm-hmm. I don't know how effective
I don't know
that one
if
was.
Anderson used to do that too for fucking around, but Benson was the first guy that I ever saw that like regularly threw calf kicks. But for whatever reason, it didn't have the kind of effect that you're seeing with guys now. Where
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know if they're placing it more effectively on, because where it really hurts is like right next to your shin bone, like that.
yeah.
Just all that
From a
the
nerve.
meat and the nerves that goes right along the bone. So it looks like a lot of times you'll hear guys, "Oh, nice check." It's like he didn't check that. Because it just has to touch that muscle on the side of your shin bone. So it looks like you checked it.
Yeah. Well, I think the casuals got woken up to it in the Dustin Poirier-Conor McGregor fight.
Yeah.
In that fight where you just see how he's just so compromised. And even fights where you don't think that the guy's compromised, like Adesanya and Pereira. Mm-hmm. Israel said after the fight, he's like, you fucked my leg up. My leg
Yeah,
was
you
useless.
watch it in the replay.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it even because I was upstairs watching it. Mm-hmm. And then when they started showing the highlights later on, I was like, wow, he like went down from the one check too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
he checked it really weird. And
Well, he kind of
got
like
calf
tripped
kicked.
over his foot
Yeah.
and then went down. So we said, oh, he just stumbled. But it was really because his leg wasn't working well anymore.
Already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the first round. I went and I've watched that fight several times. And
Apparently so has Alex Pereira
Yeah.
made Glover watch it. Every
Oh,
time he
really?
comes over, apparently he puts it on. Yeah.
I watched it again, and it's that first round. That first round, he fucking really chops at it. Really, he's got a very strange style. It's very uniquely
Pereira?
his. Yeah, the stand-up style. It's very different. Like his hands, he stands like this,
He's just freakishly long
Yeah.
and big for that weight class.
and his power's preposterous.
You can you ever see some of those guys, like when you look at certain skinny guys, and I'm not calling him, he's not like
He's lean,
but he's lean. And you
tall and lean.
Those guys are the guys I worry about because it's those guys that hit freakishly hard. That it's the big muscle guys. You know that guy's going to hit you hard, but it's these sneaky, tall, lean guys.
Tommy
man.
Hearns looking
yeah,
dudes.
and they
Yeah.
when they turn into those hooks, his left hook.
so much torque and leverage. His fucking left hook is a thing of beauty, man. It really is. I mean, his everything is fucking sick.
Scary dude.
He's such a scary guy. And the high-level kickboxing experience that he has, like coming over from Glory. I'm very interested to see what Israel does different in the second fight, but I'm really interested in seeing him against someone who can wrestle. That's what I'm really interested in.
I was just going to say, it's kind of working out perfectly for Alex, where you get another shot.
Yeah.
You get to go and face Israel again. That's the best matchup for you. You got a guy that is probably going to stand with you for as long as the fight lasts.
Yeah.
When he's really going to get challenged is when he has somebody that's going to say,
Marvin Vettori.
I'm going to grapple your ass. I'm going to pressure you up against the fence. And for guys like Vettori, it's got to be like, all right, they want him to stay the champ.
Yeah.
Because Izzy already had their number, and he's been there. But as long as Pereira's in there, another kickboxer, but with a different style, maybe not as much experience in the grappling department, they're chomping at the bit to get in there. Well,
Not necessarily chomping. He's
yeah.
fucking scary. Robert Whitaker. Whitaker's very well-rounded. He's an interesting matchup for him. There's very good matchups in that 185-pound division, but in my opinion, what's interesting is he's a specialist. He's like a pure specialist.
Yeah.
I mean, he can grapple a little bit, but that's not what he wants to do. He wants to knock your fucking head into the bleachers.
Yeah, and you know it going in. You know that's what he wants to do to you. He just try to. I mean, Izzy was winning that fight, and he still got him out of there.
Yep. Well,
I couldn't believe it. I remember even saying to people when we were watching it up in the ESPN desk, we're like, man, could you imagine if he pulls it off here in the end? And he fucking did it.
Yeah, he did it. Izzy was probably ahead how many rounds do you think he was ahead going into that fifth round?
That was the fifth. And I think even that round was that who? I don't remember now.
Well, Izzy definitely won the first and almost knocked him out.
I think he had probably 2 or 3 rounds.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I'd have to go back and try to score it.
Which I'm terrible at, man. People are always like, what did you think? I'm like, I'm calling the fight.
Yeah, you can't call and score at the same time.
They don't get it.
When you're scoring a fight, you should shut your
you
mouth. Okay, here we go. So Izzy had 3 rounds on Eric Colin's card. On Sal Diamata's card, he had 3 rounds. And he also had 3 rounds on Mike Bell's. Yeah, so he had
all the same, too.
All he had to do was move around.
Yep.
All he had to do is
not get caught.
Not get caught, and he wins that fight. Wow. I'm very interested in the rematch. Because you got to think, Izzy almost had him out in the first round, man. He almost had him out. If he can avoid getting that leg compromised like he did in the first round of that fight, and so he's got his movement, and he also had some great moments grappling, which surprised a lot of people.
Yeah.
When he had Pereira's back. And
if there's a time that you're going to pull out some grappling, it's in that matchup.
It's with that dude.
And he's been at it longer than Pereira. So it's like that's the time to show. And he did.
Yeah.
Both guys did. Both guys, I think, scored takedowns at one point or another in that fight. I remember being like, oh, now they're wrestlers in here. You get 2 guys that know they can knock the crap out of each other, and suddenly everybody knows how to do a little bit of wrestling.
Well, just, the mixing it up, just keeping someone guessing, overload their brain.
25 minutes of avoiding that left hook.
Whew.
Scary proposition.
It's everything, man. Everything he hits you with is hard.
And that's what I'm talking about. Those lean guys like that. You know those shins hurt. Mm-hmm. You know if he lands an elbow on you. Same as Izzy. Mm-hmm. They're similar build, but Alex has more muscle on him.
He's quite a bit bigger. I mean, I think Pereira, when he actually weighed into the fight, was above 220.
Yeah.
When he was inside the octagon for the fight, was above 220. Whereas you got to remember when Izzy fought Jan Blachowicz for the light heavyweight title, he was only 194.
Yeah.
I mean, Izzy's one of those guys that...
He's not cutting that much weight.
He's not cutting any weight. And even when he wanted to go up to light heavyweight, he's like, I'm not cutting any weight. I'm going to fight as I fight.
Which makes sense. Especially if you're not planning on making that transition permanently, you don't want to go and add on all that size. And the other thing that drives me nuts about when I hear these fighters, and I think it's really the strength and conditioning coaches feeding bullshit more than it is the fighters. They're just listening to what they're being told. But you don't put on 20 pounds of muscle in a month. You ever hear these guys in fighter meetings? We'll be talking to them and be like, well, I put on about 10 pounds of lean muscle mass for this camp. I'm like, this particular camp,
in 6
you've
weeks.
put on
10 pounds.
10 pounds of muscle mass.
How are you going to pass your piss test?
Yeah. What do you? What supplements
Right.
are you taking for that?
Air quotes supplements.
Like, get the
Yeah.
fuck out. You didn't put on 10 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, that's a lot.
You're out of your
weight.
mind.
Yeah, yeah. You probably gained some water weight, and it's like,
You got stronger.
what kind of scanning are they doing of their body composition before they say these things? Are
It's
they
the
doing,
coach doing the eyeball scan saying that you put on 10 pounds of muscle for this one.
Well, I always go back to the Roy Jones Jr. Ruiz fight when he fought John Ruiz. He went up to heavyweight, remember? And he got very muscular. He was real big. He was he wasn't too heavy for a heavyweight. I want to say Roy weighed like 200 pounds, just a little over 200 pounds maybe. See what he weighed for that John Ruiz fight. Does it say?
193.
Oh, was he really? That's all he weighed?
Well, the heavyweight for what the
That says
heavyweight
that,
for
but I
boxing
think that's
is different, right?
now. They're saying now he weighs 193. But what did he weigh when he fought John Ruiz? So does it say there? Oh, he said he weighed 193 and Ruiz was 226.
226, yeah.
Interesting. But, Roy was so fucking talented. But when Roy went down in weight and then fought Tarver in his next fight, he looked deflated.
Yeah.
He looked like he had just really drained himself to make that weight cut.
Yeah, that's why you see these guys
Yeah.
drop down, man. It's
Looked terrible and then got knocked out.
very few people can do it. Jose Aldo somehow
I don't know. how he's
came
doing.
down and
Looked great.
still look good.
I think what happened with Aldo is he never really had a serious nutritionist.
Yeah.
Where someone was like planning his meals, breaking it down by calories, and
He was just cutting all that
carbohydrates.
weight
Yeah.
for the 45, and it's like, well, you could have been a lot smaller way before you even got to that weight cut.
Because I remember when he was at the top of the heap at 145, he was heavy, man.
Yeah,
he was walking around.
He was
170.
struggling to make those weight cuts. So it's
Yeah.
and when he said he was going down to bantamweight, it's like, well, how are you going to go down to bantamweight? You used to struggle to make 145 pounds.
Yeah.
Lifestyle changes.
Yeah, lifestyle changes. And some guys, that's the move. And some guys, it just ruins them because they drain so much out of their body. They're not durable anymore.
Yeah. I joked about, I've talked to like Nick Zick and Brian Butler, my manager. I'm like, well, maybe I'll come back on 145. And they're like, yeah. And I talked to Ian Larios, who does all my weight cuts. He's like, are you out of your fucking mind, dude? He's like, just because you're skinnier now doesn't mean you can drop a whole weight class and have no trouble making that weight.
Were you thinking about it at one point in time of doing one more fight?
Oh, man, I've thought about it many, many times.
Did you think about it after Oliveira became the champ? Because when you beat Oliveira,
He was not, yeah, not really, because we were on such different trajectories. It's like, just because at the time I had a win, which I loved having over him. I loved being the last guy that had beaten the champion, which is no longer the case. But like for me to come back and think I'm going to even come close to getting that matchup, it's like, well, that's not going to happen. I'm going to have to win and beat all these insane, hungry contenders before I even get to sniff at that belt. So
he was an interesting case. He still was an interesting case because he was a guy who was kind of known as a guy who fell apart.
a quitter a little bit. Yeah.
Cub Swanson knocked him out. A bunch of guys had beat
Max
him.
Holloway had like
Yeah.
that weird neck thing going on.
What happened to Max Holloway fight?
Remember, he had like a weird stinger almost in his neck, I think. And he kind of just crumbled in the corner and like tapped out. I think it was a legit thing with his, with his neck.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It was kind of scary.
I forgot about that. Yeah, man,
But then
fucking
everybody was
stingers.
calling him a quitter, all
Yeah.
this, and it's like,
And he just turned a corner and then became the baddest motherfucker in the weight class.
Yeah.
And not just the baddest motherfucker in the weight class, but one of the best motherfuckers in the sport. When he knocked out Chandler and he beat the shit out of Gaethje, when he was putting it on people, you got to go, God damn, he's good.
I'm curious to see if he comes back and gets back to that Islam fight, because he seems to want it. At first, it didn't seem like after you've been there with Islam, I think a lot of people go, oh,
That dude.
I don't know if I want to get back in there right away.
He's on
and then
such
you
another
think
level.
you think about it for a while.
What's it say here? Oliveira suffered a micro
Yeah.
tear in his esophagus. Wow.
And you know what that was probably due to?
He said he's injured his neck in training, but did physical therapy and thought everything was fine. What do you think
Probably
it's due to?
all of the weight cuts that he had been doing to make 145 pounds back in the day.
That's right, the 45.
Now, he probably heard it in training legit.
Yeah.
But when you're constantly dehydrating yourself camp after camp after camp. And I remember when he fought me, he was still trying to go back down to 145 pounds.
Jesus.
Which is why he wasn't as big. I mean, I must have been 20 pounds heavier than him when I fought him back then.
And so then he made a conscious decision to stay at 55.
He said, I'm gonna stay here because they told him you have no choice. So like you're either gonna fight in this weight class or you're gonna keep missing and screwing yourself over.
It's
at
crazy
45.
because his power developed. Like when he hit Gaethje said no one ever hit him that hard before. He said he felt it in his teeth.
And even back in the day when he was still Mr. Skinny Charles Oliveira and he kicked me a few times, I remember being like, God damn. I thought I was going to buzzsaw through this guy on the feet, and he lands a few shots, and you could see where that strength was there. That, again, another one of those just wiry guys where you kind of underestimate their power, and then they hit you, and you're like, Jesus Christ.
Long and lean. It's a great build for fighting. You look at some of the great fighters of our time, like the long, lean guys.
It's the best build, in my opinion.
Because you have the reach advantage.
The reach, jiu-jitsu, you can wrap everybody up. You can sneak your arms in through. You're not as bulky, which maybe you don't have as much of that brunt kind of power that some of the guys that are shorter and stockier would have in the division. But I think that long, lean muscle for MMA is the way to be. And I was just short and stumpy. I have no reach. I had none of those benefits, unfortunately.
Yeah, but then look at Mighty Mouse. He's short and stumpy too, and he's the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
If not the greatest. He's in the conversation. I mean, I don't think there is one real greatest of all time. Khabib is most certainly in the conversation. John Jones.
John Jones, for sure.
John Jones has got the perfect build. Perfect build.
How is that going to translate to heavyweight?
It's very interesting because everybody else has the perfect build up there too.
Yeah.
It's a different world when you're dealing with natural 245s, natural 260s. Yeah. I was really looking forward to him and Francis. I
think everybody was, man.
Real bummed out when they didn't make that happen.
Yep.
I think Francis just sees that pot of gold at the end of the boxing rainbow and is like, you know what? I'm going to make some fucking money. And my hope is, here's my hope. Here's the perfect world. The perfect world is he goes over, has some big money heavyweight boxing fight. John Jones and Cyril Gane have a fight. John wins, Cyril wins. Whoever wins is the UFC champion, and then they have
comes back,
and then Francis comes back.
Yeah,
like
I'd like
he
to
can,
see him come
he can
back.
Totally come back. It's like, Francis, if you're listening, sir, please
you can come
don't
back.
Don't sign an exclusive contract. Just go make some
there's
money.
No way, right? He would.
Who knows if someone comes along and offers him a shit ton of money? Yeah. Look, I mean, he should. If someone says, "Hey, I'll give you $100 million,"
you do whatever.
You do whatever. You say, "Okay, what do I got to do? Fight Jake Paul? What the fuck do I have to do?" You know what I mean? Like if they're gonna offer him big money, but I think they're trying to do a Tyson Fury fight. I know Tyson Fury was saying a bunch of crazy shit like, "We'll fight.
MMA
we'll
gloves.
fight in a cage. Fucking 4-ounce gloves."
The regular with boxing rules, MMA
Mike
gloves.
Tyson as the referee. He's saying,
Why is that? Like,
for
why
fun.
is that?
I mean, that would be more people would buy it. I mean, that's just getting a bunch of people to buy it. You
Make
know,
as much money as they humanly can.
I mean, people need to understand the levels of boxing, though. You got to understand. I mean, listen, Francis Ngannou could knock out any human being on earth if he can hit them clean on the chin. But good luck hitting Tyson Fury clean on the chin,
bro.
Did you see Floyd Mayweather sparring yesterday?
He made that kid. I don't know who that kid is.
Well, the kid is like a decent boxer.
Yeah,
decent
boxer. That just shows you right there. I mean, he was. I just saw it yesterday. I was watching, and he was just he was
playing with him. Yeah,
bang,
playing with him and moving away from him, and and the kid, whoever this guy is, I guess he's a YouTuber.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Do you know who he is, Jamie?
Looking right now, I didn't know.
The kid had an excellent account of himself because even though Floyd was tagging him, he didn't shy away. He kept moving forward. He was just.
And you can't get frustrated. Like the worst thing you can do when Floyd's talking shit to you like that is rush him.
Right.
Because you're gonna walk onto a right hand and you're gonna look like an idiot.
So he's still. I mean, he's like 50 years old. I mean, it's amazing. His understanding of where the punches are coming. Look at that fucking counter. His understanding of, is that the dude he boxed?
He's talking about the video.
Oh,
so
let's hear him say it. What he's saying.
Oh my God, I didn't even see that. That was like a perfect body shot. Look, it's coming.
And he touched you with that.
Days.
Yeah,
Even
just
then
touched
people go, oh, Jesus.
That's funny. That
If he
he's
wanted
got
to
a good-
take you down with that liver shot, he would have taken you down.
Yeah, easily. He's just tapping him up. But it's that guy's got a great sense of humor about it. It's very funny how he's laughing about it. But, you know, I mean, you got to think this guy is 50 years old. I mean, how old is Floyd now? He's got to be close to 50.
Got to be late 40s, 48.
Yeah, late 40s.
Kid was 21.
And at this point in time,
45.
45? Is he
Sorry,
only
Floyd.
45?
I didn't mean
Sorry,
to age you.
Sorry, Floyd. But I mean, past his prime and still just making millions of dollars fighting
Doing
people that have
exhibition
no
fights.
business. He's really brilliant. What he's doing is brilliant because he gets these guys to fight him. They have no business fighting him. He's making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
He puts on a show. Do you see the one he did? I guess it was in Dubai, where he took the ring card and he was walking around in between rounds holding the ring card.
Oh, my God.
He
I
took
didn't
it from
see
the
that
ring
one.
card girl. He was just having a
I
blast.
saw the one a while back. He fought that kickboxer kid.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like the first time he had done one of those.
Nasukawa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of those like big exhibitions. And it's just like he's
But
just going to make you
Tenshin
look silly.
fought 126. Like, Tenshin's a tiny guy.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant kickboxer.
But without kicking.
Yeah, without
You've
the
got no
kicking.
chance.
I know. But
You might not even have a chance.
He has a chance of kicking. You imagine they let him leg kick Floyd?
That's the only way I'm getting in there. Can I
Yeah.
elbow?
How about this?
Can I knee you?
I get 10 leg kicks around.
I give me one.
Right.
Give me
around.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I land, I don't want to.
Oh, you get those juices flowing again.
Yeah. Let's go. I do, man. It's
It's hard.
It's a especially since we do commentary, right? So I'm around these elite fighters all the time, and I try to be respect, but you can tell if sometimes somebody will get sassy or have a comment about what I said, and it's like, man, don't forget that I've been in there too, man. Like, I know everything that's going on there. I've had my ass beat. I've beaten some good dudes. I've never was champion. That's the only thing. Sometimes I feel a little bit of what's the word where you like you feel like you're
Imposter syndrome?
Yes.
Yeah.
like I don't deserve to be there sometimes because you got Dom next to me, he's champ, WEC champ. I got DC's double champ next to me.
Well, what about me? I never even fought MMA.
Yeah, but you're there day one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you do a great job. You shouldn't have imposter syndrome, and you are absolutely a legitimate, like, top flight professional fighter. It's just that sport is always going to have sensitive people when you dedicate your entire life to
Yeah.
this one moment, and then someone's criticizing it and saying, "Oh, he could have done this and he could have done that,"
Yeah.
and they're like, "Fuck you, Paul Felder."
I've had to take some Joe Rogan lessons on not reading the comments and not doing
Yeah.
all that stuff because
Everyone should listen to me about that.
for the longest time I would get I'd get into these arguments and you can't win because you've already lost.
Mm-hmm.
The second you type it in and send it, they
Yeah.
just won.
Yeah, you lost right away.
You
also
lost really
lost
letting
your-
it get to you is
Yeah.
the first loss.
There's nothing at stake, so you can't win anything.
No.
There's
What are you gonna do?
nowhere to win. Yeah.
I'll beat you up, internet guy?
I say that, but then there's Gordon Ryan, who loves to fucking go back and forth with people online.
But
which
does
is
he have fun
hilarious.
doing it?
He does.
Okay.
He's a
Sometimes
he's
I
a
can-
legitimate psycho, though.
But as long as you can enjoy well,
He's a real psycho.
as long as you can enjoy it.
Yeah.
I
he
started to
enjoys
get mad.
it. He enjoys it. He gets a kick out of it. He doesn't give a fuck. Like, you can't hurt his feelings like that.
Well, because I mean, you're like, what are you going to do?
Right.
First of all, where's the trash talk even coming from with a guy like that?
Right.
Like, what are you saying to him?
Right.
That
you
he's
only
not the
won
best?
50 in a row. Oh,
You can't heel hook
fucking
everybody?
whoopty shit. You're the greatest of all time. Whatever. You're a
you
beautiful,
suck, bro.
handsome, tall, good-looking guy built like a
Got
Greek god. Fuck
Abs.
off.
Hate your abs.
Yeah. Probably so you can want to suck dick. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, that social media, because I've seen it ruin people's lives. I've seen some fighters, they get into it with people on social media and they're going back and forth all the time, and I know that's fucking with their head. I know they're probably thinking about that while they're hitting pads or thinking about some mean thing that someone said to them. Or someone posts a gift. I remember people used to fuck with Rashad Evans. There was that photo of him when Lyoto Machida knocked him out, and it was like his eyeballs were rolled back in his head. And some guy came up to him at one
to
of them.
sign it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he crumpled it up and threw it at him.
Should have just signed it.
Yeah. I don't know. Like you gotta, you're in there you're standing right next to a lion.
Yeah.
Like how about you watch your fucking mouth? You think you're cute to go up to Rashad Evans and
put a picture of him being knocked out?
Yeah, you think that's cute? He'll rip your fucking head off your body. How about that?
He's a much calmer man these days, man.
Oh my God, he
so
went
chill
on a
now.
psychedelic journey.
Yeah.
He became a different human.
It's so funny to see him, like just his energy in the backstage area is just so calm now. And I'm like,
Well,
dude,
he's a
I remember hanging
vegan
out
now.
with you. Yeah,
That's what it does. You turn into a fucking giraffe.
that's the one thing I can't. John Gooden too. I just can't get on that bandwagon.
I don't think it's good for you. I mean, it might be okay for some people, but it's not. I don't believe it's the optimum diet. And this comes from many, many, many conversations with nutritionists.
Yeah.
And vegans too, and trying to listen to people that are vegan. You can do it and pull it off, but you have to really be careful, and you have to really mind your macronutrients and really pay attention to what you're taking in.
because it just seems so easy to take way too much of processed shit.
It's not just that. You definitely could do that, but it's also your body's not absorbing. Like when people go, you can't go 1-to-1 with animal products versus like broccoli. Like if you say like, oh, I got 25 grams of protein from broccoli. No, you didn't. Because your body's not absorbing it the same.
Yeah, with all that fiber,
It's
you're
not
just going to be
bioavailable.
farting the whole time. That's
You're
what's going to
definitely
end up
gonna be farting
happening.
the whole time. But some people have done it right. They can do it. It can be done right. I just don't think it's the optimal diet. I really believe that red meat, and this is very controversial, but it's backed up by science. It really is. Red meat is one of the most nutrient-dense foods.
Yeah.
And all of our ideas about what's bad and what's good, we've been hoodwinked. We've been hoodwinked by a bunch of fucked up studies that were conducted by the sugar companies because they paid scientists off to lie about the dangers of saturated fat, and that is just in everyone's consciousness.
Yep.
And then, there's all these people, what about your cholesterol? What about that? What about this? What about that? I get my blood work done all the time. I'm healthy as fuck.
Yeah.
And,
So you are eating
Yeah.
a lot of red meat.
I'm eating mostly meat. All of
Yeah.
January, I go on the carnivore diet. I do it every year. Just all January, I eat nothing but meat. I feel fucking
You don't
great.
crave like,
I
I guess you do, yeah.
I do cheat. I cheat a couple times.
What's
I
your
cheat-
go-to?
I ate sushi. Oh, I had some sushi. That was really good. But it's just rice. I cheated with rice. I cheated a little bit.
Rice is my favorite thing on the planet.
I had dessert 3 times this month. Yeah. And I had a piece of bread yesterday.
Fuck yeah. I love bread, dude.
I do too. I love it. I had a steak and I was like, "Fuck, one piece of bread's not gonna fucking kill me."
You know what I want after the steak?
What?
Some bread.
Yes. After the steak?
No, I'm just saying. I always want bread now.
I love bread. Bread with butter. It's fucking goddamn, it's so good.
know what?
Warm bread.
Have you ever heard of this? When I was a kid, if we had anything with gravy for dinner, we would do bread and gravy afterwards, right? My dad would go to the kitchen, grab the biggest thing of white bread that we had, put a pile on it. Anybody want some bread and gravy?
Just
And we
sop
would
it
just
up.
sit there, grab the gravy,
Oh yeah.
pour it all over bread.
Well, I'm Italian, and my grandparents used to live in this very Italian neighborhood in New Jersey that eventually wasn't Italian, but they had these Italian bakeries, and I'd go walk with my grandfather to this bakery. He'd go to the bakery every couple of days and buy a couple of loaves of bread.
Yeah.
And it was the freshest bread, and you carve into it, and my grandmother
Jersey,
would make
Philly,
homemade
New York
pasta sauce.
Yeah.
And oh my God,
That's
the
my favorite thing in the
marinara.
world. Oh, dude.
Dip it in there with butter.
While it's
butter
still
and marinara.
bubbling
Oh.
away.
Oh.
And you have a side of bread, slather that with some butter, and right into the pot. Almost
Right in
scold
there.
your whole face off, but it's just whatever.
So good.
I'm going in.
So good.
Ugh.
I mean, I know it's terrible for you, but like, look, you're from Philly. A fucking cheesesteak sub.
Yeah, it's
a
not good for you.
real good one. A real good one with just fucking hot, and you rip it apart at the middle and take a bite into it, and just the crunch of the bread on the outside and the
It's
juiciness.
the bread. It's the
it's
bread,
everything.
man.
Yeah.
Even like all the hoagies and stuff like that, you get the hard seeded rolls. That's the way to
Look
go.
at
Hey.
that. Jesus, look at that. That looks
Eat
good.
that, Bilal.
Oh, that looks so good.
Philly doesn't suck. Chicago sucks. Go Birds.
Look how good that looks. God, that looks good.
That's Whiz Wit right there. That's Whiz Wit.
It's funny how Philly became like known for cheesesteaks.
Yeah.
Like that is the food of Philadelphia, right? If you ask someone, like, I don't think there's another place like that in terms of like a sandwich that's completely connected to one city.
Yeah.
Name
yeah.
another place.
No.
I can't. I guess.
Like Chicago's got the
Deep dish.
like, and what's their they do a beef sandwich too in Chicago, like but it's not
but it's not like,
as famous as a cheesesteak.
Philly's like synonymous with cheesesteaks.
And Jim's, which was always my favorite spot on South Street, that just like burned down not too long ago. I don't even think it's back up and running. And then obviously Pat's and Geno's are just like
they're kind of touristy, right?
Yeah, I mean
They're still good.
Bro, if it's 3 a.m. and you've been out, and then you go and get it's going to taste amazing.
And
right?
you want to see a brawl.
If you want to see a fist fight.
You're 5 out of 10.
Or be in one. You can go stand in that line.
What's the best cheesesteak in Philly? There got to be like one best place.
I mean, I always went to Jim's, but everybody would argue there's a spot in the Northeast. I know the Dawkins brothers would be arguing with me about that, and Sean Brady. But you know what? I don't eat them that often, to be honest with you. When you grow up,
once a year?
No, more than that. When I say I don't eat them very often,
Every
I mean
3
like
months?
every couple months I'll have a cheesesteak. But I'm a pizza guy nowadays.
Every time I watch Dave Portnoy test pizza, I wish I was there with him.
Yeah.
I get so jealous. Like when he's just taking a bite
Meanwhile,
out of the crust
you're eating a steak and here's just crushing bread.
Yeah, I mean, it's not good for you. It's not the right way for me, just me personally, when I eat and I feel my best is like fruit and meat.
Yeah.
That's it. And I can eat greens. Greens don't seem to bother me, but the balance for me seems to be fruit and meat. What is this? Which
Is
place
this Jim's?
is this?
This is Jim's.
Is it Jim's? Oh, that looks good. Oh my God.
I got to make a cheesesteak at Jim's for the UFC. They did
really?
a feature when we
Look at
the last time they were in Philly.
God,
Me and my
look at
brother Tommy did
These guys are going
this
off.
past. Yeah,
these-
Barack.
Oh, Obama. I mean, everybody's.
Yeah, and that's the
everybody
thing. And
goes
you
to
get the thing I like about Jim's too on South Street is you can get beers and stuff there. A lot of them you can't get. They don't want you to get beer because
Drunks.
it's 3 a.m. and you're gonna
Chaos.
You're already trying to fight somebody outside of that place.
It's just funny that how did that happen? Where that became like the known sandwich of Philadelphia?
I don't know. I think that I remember I'd heard how they even got started. I think a guy had some leftover steak, and it was like early in the morning or something. And he threw a sandwich together, and I think that's how they got started making them like that. But I don't know how that became so damn famous with our city that we're known for cheese
think
whiz
about
and,
all
and
the different
chopsteak.
food, all the different stuff that people could eat. That one sandwich becomes famous for the city.
We were like one of the founding the original capital of this nation. And what are we known for now?
Cheesesteaks.
Cheese whiz on.
Also
a roll.
known for fighters. I mean, think about how many Bernard Hopkins, Joe Frazier. I mean, so many great fighters came out of Philadelphia.
Dude, there's a kid
Rocky.
now. Ennis.
Boots Ennis.
Damn, bro.
God damn, he's good. He's so good.
I remember training with him when he was like a teenager, and he was just playing around with us, and he would just move around. I mean, we were grown adult MMA fighters, couldn't even touch this kid, and now look at he's
so
murdering
slick.
people. The way he's
Yeah.
just like slides. He basically does like a cartwheel and gets out of the way of some of these shots, man.
He's so slick. He's so slick and creative and so entertaining to watch.
He's so good.
Yeah, he's so good at switching stances and his
I'm
his
so glad to
footwork
see
and
him.
movement.
Yeah, see him doing as well as because he was literally helping MMA guys out with his dad, obviously, Bozy, who's just training him. And I don't know if I think that's who he's training with pretty much full time still is his dad.
His dad still gets after it.
Bro,
His dad is
he will
67 years
throw
old.
down if need be. I've seen him box like young kids in the gym who start mouthing off, and he's like, "All right, you want to throw down?" Doesn't throw a headgear on, and he'll bust people up.
Wow.
He's the man. He cornered me for that the spinning hook kick fight. He was in my corner.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you were doing that, did you have an MMA gym, or were you cross training on your own, like going to a boxing gym, a Muay Thai gym, a jiu-jitsu gym?
So back then, we at Daniel Gracie's gym in North Philly, we had if you went into our basement gym, there was a like sliding old school door that went into another basement, and it was just like all old warehouses that were turned into studios like this or boxing gym. And next door to us was a boxing gym.
Wow.
So we started sharing the space. So we would work with Bozy and all those guys and his sons and his who are he's got other sons who didn't make it the way Boots is now, but they would spar with us, help us out, hold pads for us. So that was kind of just like a little collab that we had going at the time. But
wow, that's fortunate.
It was great.
That's amazing.
It's great.
That's amazing.
And I remember some of the pro boxers there would just jab, like you'd be trying to beat their asses, and you'd find out after the session that I was just throwing jabs. Like, look, think back. He's like, did I ever hit you with a right hand? It's like, no, you were only jabbing me in the face. And I was trying to take your head off for, 6 rounds or whatever it was.
And they were just sharpening up tools on you.
They're just working on one thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe just defense, not even punching you.
Well, that would be a thing that Hickson Gracie would always do with people. Like he would just go for left arm bars.
Yeah.
So he would train with everybody and just like...
That's the best way to do it. If you're significantly better than somebody. Okay, well, how can I handicap myself so that I'm still working while you're still working?
Yeah.
It's just a good way to train.
Yeah, it's hard for a guy who's that much better than everybody else to get real good, solid work in.
Yeah. Just don't put nobody on that level.
So what was was Duke's the first actual MMA gym? I know you did some training with Cowboy too, right?
Yeah, so way back when I was still an amateur, he had like the tap out house back then where he had bunk beds in his own house, and he would rent it out, and you could just come and experience training with Donald and Leonard Garcia at the time. So I flew out after sparring with him at a seminar, and he's like, you know what? You don't even have to pay. Just come out and you can train with us. You can live in the house and be a sparring partner. And then after experiencing that mess of living in bunk beds with these other fighter dudes sharing one bathroom, bro, in the back of his house, because the way they had the ranch set up is Leonard had like this middle area. Cowboy had his own bedroom with a bathroom in the back. And then all of us dudes were just in like 4 bunk beds.
How many guys were in the house together?
Man, we'd have, there'd be like 10 guys at a time.
Oh, my God.
All taking dumps in the same bathroom.
Who was cooking?
Us. For ourselves. Going to Walmart and buying shit. And that's when you realize how back-assed some of these kids are with their diets. It's like, what are you eating? There's Oreos everywhere. It's like little kids. It's like you realize that none of us knew how to even live on our own. And we all started eating cleaner. The ones that wanted to be successful would. And some of these kids would miss weight, or they'd be partying and not training. And it's like, dude, you're not here on vacation, man.
Right.
You're here to train. And some guy be in there with Cowboy, get his nose broken. He used to spar 4-ounce gloves, no shin guards, no headgear, just mouthpiece, MMA gloves in his cage at the ranch. And I remember I was always just getting thrown in because he'd wreck somebody. All right, Felder, Philly, he called me back then. Just get Philly in here. And I'd come in and take my ass beating. But I kept coming after him. And he started flying me out. And then I started training with those guys. And then obviously I got my UFC debut. And he's like, get your ass out here. I went out there. I brought my buddy Jonathan with me. And I did that for a while. And then I was like, okay. It was too much, and it was Cowboy. It was the Cowboy show. Like I needed to find somewhere where I could kind of have my own little bit of a training camp. I could still go and train with him, but I wasn't going to get that attention that I needed. And now being in the UFC, that's when I was finally like, man, I can't I can't just be a sparring partner anymore. And that's when I started doing my own training camps. And I floated around Daniel Gracie. I worked with Nick Catone and Ricardo and Mark Henry and those guys for a couple fights. And nothing against those guys. I love all those guys. But it didn't seem like it just didn't fit my style. And then my manager at the time, Brian, was like, I want you to go check out Duke and see which. So I flew out there when I was getting ready for Gilbert Burns, which ended up not happening. He broke his arm in that fight. But that's the first time I flew out there. I'd lost to Trinaldo in Brazil. And then I flew out to Duke's, and I never left. I stayed there for the entire training camp. Once I met him, once I hit pads with him one time, I was like, that's my guy.
Really?
That's my guy.
Interesting.
Bro, he's like Rain Man of Thai pads and Thai knowledge. He's so damn good with
he's a wealth
Muay
of
Thai.
knowledge. Yeah. Yeah.
He'll tell you all about it, too.
Yeah, I mean,
Bro,
he knows a lot.
You want to hear about it? Duke will friggin' talk to you about it. I love that
You
dude.
got to think of him and his brother. I mean, they were at the forefront of kickboxing. You know, when his brother, I forget who that Thai guy whose brother fought.
Yep.
But when his brother was the king of kings in kickboxing, and then he fought that Thai guy, and that Thai guy chopped his legs apart. And then Duke, who was 19 at the time, was like, well, I don't think there's any talent in kicking legs.
And then he's like, I'm never going to let that happen. That was the moment when he was like, oh.
Yeah.
I guess there is something to this stuff. And then he became obsessed with it.
I remember the first time I found out about Muay Thai. I was training in Boston, and I was training with this. I was running this Taekwondo school, and I was working with this boxing trainer. And this boxing trainer had this other guy who ran a karate school in Everett, Rich Vassapoli. Great fucking guy. He died actually doing a triathlon. He got kicked.
Jeez.
He got kicked in the head
While
he was swimming, and he got knocked out, I guess. Yes, this is the fight.
Look,
So-
he just doesn't even know what to do.
Yeah, and also Rick had him hurt. He had him hurt and dropped him
'Cause he could
at one
punch,
point in
man.
time.
Rick-
oh my God,
he
he
could
could do
punch.
everything. Rick could do everything, and he was so clever. Like his kicking and everything was so slick. But this motherfucker was just chopping him
just
down,
marching forward.
just chopping him down, and he just brutalized his legs. And Rick didn't react to it at all. He didn't know what to do. Yeah,
there it
see?
is.
He hurt him. He hurt him bad. What did he say? Was it a high kick? Say it
He
again?
kicked into the left hand.
Oh yeah. So he kicked him and then threw left hand.
Bam!
Boom. Yeah.
Almost like a Superman punch.
Yeah. With one leg up, caught him on the
Is that
chin.
blood or his mouth guard?
Mouth guard.
All right.
So he puts his mouth guard back in. I mean,
that's round one.
Round one. I mean, very, very interesting moment in striking because. Oh, look, you heard him again. He tags him, drops him a second time in the round. Like he had him in real fucking trouble. And this dude gets up, and Rick had some fucking hands. I mean, he had amazing kicks above the waist, and eventually developed great kicks below the waist. But this Thai guy just kept fucking chopping the legs. And I think this fight was a fight. How do you say his name? Changpwek Kiet Song Grit.
I don't know. You need Duke
Good
to
luck.
pronounce
Yeah.
that one.
Or Mark Del Grate could probably do it. But so he had this dude in all kinds
Mark
of trouble.
definitely good.
Well, Mark can actually speak Thai.
Yeah.
It's wild watching him speak Thai because he's
You see this guy
fucking
from
Boston
Boston, yeah.
accent, fucking Italian guy, you know, and he's speaking Thai.
Oh.
Yeah, look at that. Jump spinning back kick to the head at the end of the first round. So this dude is getting his ass handed to him in the first round and then comes back in the second and just starts fucking marching him down and chopping those legs. Hey, you can go right there. Just go right there. You can get a sense of it. But we got a sense of like, oh, this is crazy. Like he's taking away his ability to move, and he's taking away his ability. I mean, he's just thumping those shins.
You can
into
see it
his
right
thigh.
there.
Yeah.
That one right there. He's
Yeah,
already not
liking
moving
it.
right.
Yeah, not liking it. And it opened up a lot of people's eyes. And I want to say, shit, what year was this?
Oh, God.
I mean, does it say? 88. Wow. So no one even fucking understood Muay Thai outside of Thailand back then. I mean, there was a few guys, but most people did not know what Muay Thai was about. So this is when I first found out about Muay Thai. And I had heard about this fight, and because I was a giant fan of Rick Rufus, and this was on PKA Karate, it was on ESPN, and I started training, and I started training with guys who were going over to Thailand and fighting. There was this one dude that I knew who went over there for months and months at a time, and this is in 88 or 89. This guy was going over to Thailand and training and coming back with all these stories and fucking cuts all over his forehead from
mangled.
elbows.
Yeah.
But it was very eye opening. The elbows were very eye opening, like because I hadn't really and I hadn't thought about that as like an in tight weapon that would work alongside with boxing. And then the leg kicks, and just I remember being stunned at how effective leg kicks are. Just it's so amazing. Like watching that fight, it's like wow.
And I remember being a little kid, and I obviously grew up doing martial arts. And I remember a couple people, even when I was just starting doing Taekwondo and karate, people being like, "You should do Muay Thai." But even then, I remember, as a kid, I was born in '84, so I was 4 when Rick was getting his ass handed leg kicks like that. But
that's crazy.
Even when I was a kid, people were like, "No, you should do Muay Thai."
Isn't that crazy?
It was like
You were
dangerous.
4.
Yeah.
I was 21. I'm so old. It's wild. It's wild thinking back to those days because I was at a time where martial arts had started to kind of, like that was the first time striking styles merged, where you saw like the above the waist kickboxing, which is what most of the people did in America, and
versus
then Muay
this.
Thai.
Yeah.
And Muay Thai was so much more effective. But if you had those above the waist style kicks and
you can kick the legs?
oh my God, but no one knew what to do with front leg side kicks. I remember that when I was kickboxing. It was like no one knew what to do with that. It was weird. Like you would stand sideways and they didn't know how to handle that.
Yeah, you
but
can't get in.
If you were really good at it. There was this guy, Larry Jones, that I used to train with. Larry was 6'2" and he was all legs. It was crazy. His legs went up to here. I never saw anybody built like him. He had the torso of a 5-foot man, and he had these legs that were incredible. Incredible dexterity. And he would side kick the fuck out of everybody. And you just couldn't get close to him.
Yeah.
You try to move forward, and he went, foop, foop.
Yeah,
He would just,
you could have the best
he would
hands in the world.
slide. Like a lot
matter.
of those point fighter guys. Like there's a guy named Mafia Holloway. Do you know who he is? He was a guy, he was the first guy. I fought a couple of those point tournaments just for fuck around. I wasn't a point fighting guy, but I would do it every now and then. And I fought him in a point fighting tournament. And I remember being so baffled, like what to do, because I was used to continuous. The Taekwondo fights were continuous. And he would just swap. Tap me, and I was like, "Oh wow!" I was like, "This is something I need to learn how to do." And I remember thinking that when MMA started emerging, I was like, "That is an unseen skill, the ability to point fight." And then Venom Page came and showed everybody. Venom Page was the first guy that was like a really good point fighter. That made his way into MMA. I'm like, "There's
Wonder Boy as well.
Wonder Boy as well, but Wonder Boy was a kickboxer. Wonder Boy did a lot of above the waist kickboxing, and he was fucking phenomenal at that.
Yeah, his record's like crazy.
57-0 or something crazy like that. I mean, Wonder Boy is like, but that fight with Kevin Holland, that let everybody know, like, you just want to stand up with Wonder Boy.
You're in trouble.
No threat of the takedown at all. Wonder Boy is a bad man.
He's
a bad man.
He's just going to have fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if you hurt him, it's like, don't forget this dude came from he's been hurt before on the feet.
Oh, he knows how to handle it.
As long as you're not going to follow it up with a whole bunch of wrestling and stifle him, he's stand and do that all day long.
And his ego is so healthy. He's such a nice guy.
He's the nicest
that,
guy.
like, it's almost like he's congratulating you for hitting him.
Yeah.
Like, good job.
Man.
Like,
got past my defenses there, buddy. Good job.
Well, he does some wild shit too. Like he sneaks that round kick over the shoulder onto the face.
I think that's the kick that made him. I mean, that knockout that he has.
First UFC fight. Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
And he just kind of throws it. Boop,
yeah.
comes
Well,
right
I remember
over top.
Faraz Sahabi saying that he was the best striker they had ever seen. They brought him in to train with George St. Pierre.
Yes.
And this is when Wonder Boy was in his 20s.
Yeah.
Wonder Boy was a motherfucker. I saw him fight live.
Can I get some of this?
Yeah, sure. Push that down. I saw Wonder Boy fight live at Chuck Norris's event. Remember Chuck Norris?
Yes, dude. I used to watch that all because that was in the prime of I'm still doing taekwondo and doing all that, and I'm like, that's what I want to do because it was kickboxing.
See
but
if
it
we
was
can
in,
find
like,
some
weird.
of the Wonder
What was that
Boy-
called?
Well, I think it was World Combat League.
I think you're right.
I think that's what he called it. But I went to see it. I believe it was in Atlantic City, and it was the first time I met Chuck Norris. I was like, oh my God, it's Chuck Norris. I couldn't believe I was meeting Chuck Norris, and he knew who I was. I was like, oh my God, I could die
Chuck
now.
Norris.
It's like Chuck Norris knows my name. He came and gave me a hug. I was like, holy shit, Chuck Norris gave me a hug. But this is Wonder Boy when he was in his fucking prime, man. Like, and so there was, what we're looking at is, for people that are just listening, there's a round platform, and it bevels up on the sides slightly. So instead of having a barrier, there's like an area, the red area, like a yellow area, like the danger track, and then the red where it slants up. And so you know to move around it, which I think was a brilliant idea. And I want to say Frank Shamrock was like one of the first guys to use something similar to that in MMA. He had an organization that he was doing for
really?
a while. Yeah.
Well, dude, it goes back. Even think of Bloodsport, right? When they at the final match,
Right.
they turn up the canvas so that they're forced to the middle. I mean, that's basically the concept.
It's a good concept. I like the concept. The concept of having like a curved surface. But the problem with the MMA guys is you can't have that because guys will drive people over the side and slam
You'll be
them
running
onto
into
the
that
ground.
guy with the camera right
Yeah.
there.
See, he
Oh,
caught him with that
man.
same kick over the shoulder. He was so good at sneaking that front round kick over the shoulder and like catching you on the chin.
That guy doesn't have any idea what hit him.
No, he has no idea. Doc Hamilton, that referee, he was one of the first guys to develop an alternative scoring system. He had an alternative scoring system to the MMA scoring system, like, you know, because we still have this 10-point must system that I think is very ineffective, or not ineffective, but not comprehensive enough for all the skills and all. It's like with boxing, you could use the 10-point system is great for boxing.
Yeah.
Because you just using hands, you could see who won 10-9 this guy. But
Right.
once you start using takedowns,
That's where it gets so
kicks
complicated, man.
it's
There's
so
too
hard.
many things.
Too many things.
Because what do we end up arguing about? Well, or people in general about the fights. Well, he got the takedown and the
Right.
control and landed X, Y, and Z. Yeah, but he threw up 3 submission attempts from his back.
Right.
Or he got taken down 3 times, but the other guy got up 3 times. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
it's so freaking hard to score.
Yeah, and it's very subjective. It's very subjective. And
Yeah,
I
you-
understand guys will tell you, no, we count this, we count that. I understand how you're scoring it.
How you're supposed to
Yes,
score it. at
but I
least,
still
yeah.
don't think that that's comprehensive enough. I don't think we should have a 10-point system. I think it should be like almost like the amount of strikes landed versus plus the amount of hard strikes landed plus takedown attempts. It should be like it should take like 5 minutes to fucking score each round. It
Yeah,
should take
it should
time.
almost be looked at in segments, right? Well, okay, who won the striking?
Right.
So-and-so. Who won this? And then you evaluate, well, maybe that was even. And that's the idea, right? That's what the judges are now supposed to be trying to do, is view it where they start with the striking. But that's the problem, is that if you win the striking, you win the round.
Right. Unless
Based on-
but takedowns, like some people score takedowns very heavily. You know, so takedowns and control.
And it's
above
not supposed to be
all.
that way. It's supposed to be just a change in position
Yeah.
if you don't do anything with it. So if you let's say I take you down and I don't throw any strikes, but somebody from their back,
Yeah, and someone's throwing up
I'm
submission
just glad that I
attempts.
don't have to do it. To be completely fair, I would not do well. And everybody's like, you guys should be doing the judges, former fighters. I'm like, yeah, no way. I already get enough criticism. I certainly don't want to be the guy that's then judging these things. We get
Well-
enough trouble when we say who we think won in a fight.
But I think at least it would be coming from a place of knowledge. I mean, it could be subjective and it could be argued and debated, but at least no one can say you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Whereas there are
dude,
problems with judges
They're
where you're
not
like,
martial artists at all.
right, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. That's like me judging soccer. Like I don't like what. How the fuck are you a martial arts judge and you're
It'd
not
be
even
like
a
me
martial artist?
watching a cricket match.
I remember there was a
I
moment
would have no idea.
in the middle of a fight in the early days where someone was doing a Kimura and one of the judges asked someone else, what is he doing? And I was like, this is so crazy. That judge just asked, what is he doing? and this person is responsible for the
For saying who won
trajectory
that
of
round.
someone's career.
Yeah.
Like this person has dedicated their entire life to this moment.
What's a Kimura?
What's a fucking thing? You go like this. I mean, imagine if you heard that. If you like got a guy in a Kimura and you're stepping your leg over the head and you're trying to finish it.
What's
Like,
he
what is he doing? What's he doing? What are you doing?
Like you are watching
Why are you here?
mixed martial arts.
How'd
fight,
you
right?
get that spot? It's
They
just,
don't know. They're like, what?
It's kind of there's parts of it that are kind of bush league still, and I just don't think we should have that scoring system. I think someone should sit down and develop and that's what Doc Hamilton tried to do. He tried to develop. I believe Doc called it a half point system, and he and I talked about it. We had a conversation. He explained it to me, and I said that definitely sounds better than what we're doing.
Yeah.
But you know,
Something.
something,
It's gotta
anything.
be
I also think they should be fighting on a football field.
I know you still
I
still
really
want that
do.
fantasy
Fuck
of
that cage. Fuck that cage. The cage just gets in the way, and it
now guys know how to fight in the cage.
Oh yeah,
Completely.
they know how to use it. They know how to put their back against the cage to get back up.
Like if the UFC suddenly threw ropes out there, people would be like, "What?
Right.
I don't know how to fight anymore," because you're so used to takedowns on the
Mm-hmm.
fence.
Well, if you go to Pride, ropes are not the way either because guys would get caught up in the
Stop.
ropes and
They're
push you back
dragging
in.
them
Yeah.
back. I'm like, this
What?
isn't good either.
That's not good either. I think not even a platform, just like a flat surface. But
Like a basketball court.
yes, like a basketball. If you can play basketball in a court, why can't you have an MMA fight in a court?
No mats? Or you like the idea
Oh,
of
you have to
having?
have
Because
mats.
then you're just
Yeah.
going to break bones.
Yeah, you break bones and also head kicks. When guys go down, their head bounces off.
Yeah. That's.
Yeah. I fought on a lot of basketball courts in the Taekwondo days.
Yes. Yeah, me too.
To the point where they made guys wear pads just
the
in the
back
back
of
of their
yeah.
head.
Just because if you got head kicked.
Mhm. Yeah, the bounce. That's one of the scariest
Did you
things is
see
the
this?
bounce.
Is this the multiple people fighting?
Fuck
This is, no, not
Christ.
quite.
Oh, is this basketball?
MMA and 3.3
Oh.
basketball.
I did
oh my
see that
God.
one.
And the
I
guy
did see that
slammed.
one.
Oh my God. So they're barefoot and they broke the glass. Leave it to Russia. Russia will have like fat men fighting fit women. They'll have
Car
2-on-1.
fighting? Did you see the car,
Yes.
car jujitsu? Did you see that?
They have car MMA too. Russia's so crazy. They're so crazy with the shit they invent.
Habib basically made this up.
Yeah. But look at this guy.
Why would
hangs
you
on
do
the
that,
neck and
bro?
Shatters it. Because he's being funny. That's so dumb.
And there's no way that's 10 feet,
No, definitely not.
right?
No, of course not. No, that's not a real. So now the guy gets the ball and the other guy takes him down. Are they allowed to hit him? Doesn't seem like they're hitting each
To be
other.
honest with you, I don't know if there's many rules to this, but
But it's in a cage and they're playing basketball. This is
Yeah,
this is dumb.
They just
They're not-
taped,
but
they
they're not even
taped
kicking
the
each
glass
other.
back together. That's all.
So they're scoring points, but they're not. It's just in an octagon.
And I have seen that thing that Khabib and his friends do. That's become almost I don't know if it's a real sport, but I've seen like organized versions of it now. Not
well,
just in a.
it looks fun when you watch Khabib and his buddies training.
They just don't dribble, right?
Yeah, they're just running and holding onto the ball.
It's like, guys, the whole point of the sport is it's difficult because you got to dribble the ball.
Yes.
Like NBA is already pushing the
look.
boundaries on traveling and walking and all that.
But they
Oh,
take each
man.
other down on the fucking hardwood floor. Rug ball, they're
I
calling
guess
it.
that's what it's called.
Oh, so this is a different version of it. Oh my
Yeah,
god,
this is legit. These guys
brutal, brutal.
make it. Oh, it's got a shot.
Not a bad shot. Rug ball's a mix of
Jesus.
basketball and wrestling. Oh Jesus Christ!
And
But
where?
hardwood
Created in where?
floors,
Russia.
Russia. Animals. Dude, there's some tough ass fucking people. If you think right now about the amount of top flight talent that comes from Eastern Europe and Russia and Dagestan and Chechnya, you know? I mean, fucking A, man.
Dude, they're all just waiting to take all the titles at this point, too.
I mean, even in boxing. Did you see the Beterbiev fight?
No.
Oh, my God. Beterbiev is so fucking tough. 19-0, 19 knockouts. I mean, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, they're definitely a step ahead in terms of combat sports, whatever it is, whether it's boxing, wrestling, MMA.
Yeah.
They've got. Is
Here's
this the guy?
Beterbiev. Yeah. I mean, he's such a fucking animal. He's from Chechnya. And he's 38 years old. So it's like he's got to get like the big fight. He was one of the guys that they were talking about Canelo fighting at light heavyweight. And I would have loved to see that. because I think his mauling style, because he just fucking comes forward and he forces firefights. It's very different than most world champions in that, like, he gets in slugfests and he gets hit, but he's super skillful. He lost to Usyk in the Olympics. Maybe it was the Olympics. It was certainly in the amateurs, but top flight amateur. And a destroyer as a professional, 19-0. And Yard, man, credit to Yard, because Anthony Yard is a bad man, and he's a fucking tough dude. He took some horrible shots in this fight, but Beterbiev just never stops, just constantly coming forward, and his technique is fucking flawless. I would have loved to see him versus Canelo.
Yeah, because they're both in that. I mean, Canelo's another one that's just right in there,
but
ready for it.
Beterbiev is so much bigger. He's a big guy, man. Canelo is, started his career. I mean, fought Floyd at 152, fought at 154. I mean, he's certainly a legit 160 and 168. He's great at it. But this dude is a legit 75. It's a different world. And Beterbiev 19-0 with 19 knockouts. So he's going to fight Dimitri Bivol next, supposedly, hopefully. And that's a really interesting. But again, Bivol, Russian. This guy, Chechnyan. That fucking world over there, dude. Hard people.
Grow up different, man.
Yeah.
Like they're not growing up with tons of money. And these guys are living on cliffs in the middle of like rock villages. You know what I mean? Where they're kicking stones at each other for fun. Like it's true. That's going to breed just. And then you take them and it's like, well, hey, you could do that. You can kick that rock around, or you can come in this gym and learn how to fight. And it's like, that sounds a lot more. You could play basketball where you tackle each other. Yeah. Sign me up for that. I'd have been good at that sport. Just not the dribbling part.
Well, you think of like war-torn Chechnya. I mean, that's where Hamzat Chimaev comes from. That's where Beterbiev comes from. I mean, it's just when it's
an escape to be able to go and box and fight and do MMA. And now he's living in Sweden and stuff like that. Oh, man.
I know,
Gets to talk trash and be cool. Like,
being around nice people.
Yeah. It's like, nobody's trying to kill me right now.
Yeah, you think about some of our greatest fighters in America grow up in poor neighborhoods. Yeah. These guys grow up in war-torn poor neighborhoods.
It's even levels to that, right?
Yeah,
I mean, our best guys, you come from rough neighborhoods. I grew up in a rough neighborhood, but I didn't grow up in Chechnya.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? South Philly's.
Think about like what you've got now with like Nurmagomedov. He steps down, but then you have Umar.
He looks great, man.
Fucking phenomenal. Completely different style.
Yep.
Like
just
evil
accidentally
striker.
knocked out a guy now too.
Oh my God.
That was
sick.
And then he felt bad about it. He was like holding his head. I'm like, oh.
Such a good guy, right?
Like, it's awesome to see, but
KOs him, and then after follow-up shot, he's like, "Oh, you're
shit, sorry,
you're out.
I didn't know you were sleeping."
And then you have Islam, who how the fuck does that guy make 155? When you stand
big,
next to
man.
him, he's so big. He looks like he's 200 plus pounds.
Yeah. He was coming. He was knocking on my door when I was fighting for the longest time too, and I was like, "These guys are all coming, man.
Yeah, they're all coming.
They're all coming." Rachmanov at 170.
Oh, Shavkat.
Shavkat's
and he's fighting
Jeff
Neal, which is very interesting. That's a good fight.
I hope they stand because that's. I mean, if you let Jeff Neal have fun on the feet, that guy can kickbox, man.
Oh, he's so accurate. He's so accurate.
Got that good
Mike
kick.
Perry fight. Woo! That high
Perry.
kick, that left high kick. Woo!
Mike Perry's a maniac.
He is a maniac. Do you know he's the backup for Jake
I saw
Paul?
that. I thought, you know what?
Crazy.
Good for you, Mike Perry.
Yeah, good for him. Here's Shavkat.
He can do it all, man.
He can do it all. He's such a good grappler, an elite striker. Throws a lot of spinning kicks.
I called a couple of his early fights, and even then, it was like this guy's going to be contending for the belt.
The thing about Shavkat is he's not getting the shine that he deserves. You know, like I don't think people understand how good he is right now in terms of like his overall popularity.
Yeah.
You know,
that's the problem with a lot of these guys. That's why they get slow played the way they do. It's not talent. I mean, these guys are the future of the UFC, no doubt about it. But you got to realize that the UFC's, they're trying to promote things, right? It's hard to promote when a guy's just stoic like that. And it's like, listen, I'm not telling you to change anything, but you can see why. You can see both sides. I'm like, okay.
Once they get to be a champion, though, then it's okay.
Yeah, because it's just like, good luck.
Khabib.
Yeah. Good luck trying to beat this guy. Now the story is, who the hell is going to beat this guy?
To this day, one of my favorite moments at a weigh-in is Khabib before the Conor fight, where he says to the audience, "I'm gonna smash your boy."
Yeah. And he did.
And he did. But it was just, that was like Khabib trash talking, which you never heard.
Yeah.
You never heard, but Conor brought it out of him.
That's all he needed.
Yeah.
That little bit.
Yeah.
gonna smash your
Alhamdulillah,
boy.
I'm gonna smash your boy.
Yeah.
And all the Irish people like, no,
like,
no,
yeah.
no.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
not enough proper 12 in the world to stop that dude from smashing you.
Yeah. It's such an exciting time in terms of like the possibilities and the matchups. I was very surprised that they decided to do Islam Makhachev versus Volkanovski.
Right away, too.
Right away. Yeah.
Like
very
they-
surprised.
You know, to the point where Volk is facing off with him that night.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's a big fight, though. We're going to do a fight companion for that. So that's on the 11th. What else is on the card? Yair Rodriguez and
Yair.
Josh Emmett. Woo!
dude, Jack Della Maddalena, that kid
Can
is
fucking
unbelievable,
crack.
bro.
He's good. And by the way, Rude Boy Randy Brown is a test,
That's
too.
great. That's a great fight.
Yeah.
It's a great fight.
Randy Brown is long and tall and very, very talented.
He's got a true test on his hands now.
I like that fight a lot.
And that's good for Randy, too, because especially going down there, if he goes down there and he beats Jack, shit, man, then he can be like, all right, next fight, I want something big at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you almost have to do that in UFC. These young guys got to realize that sometimes. Like, you want X, Y, and Z. You want the big fights. You want these matchups. Sometimes you got to suck it up and say, all right, who do you got to give me? Where do I got to go? Because it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes you got to go fight in Brazil against a Brazilian. Sometimes you'll have to go over this, down to New Zealand or go over. I remember fighting all over the place. I didn't give a shit as long as it was going to put me in a position to move up the rankings and get more money as well.
If you went to fight in Brazil, how much time would you give yourself to adapt?
Well, I would do it all different than what I did when I did do it, because I only went. I think I went down left on like a Tuesday to fight on a Saturday.
Oh no!
And it was not good.
It's so hard just to adapt to the jet lag.
Yeah, I was
It's such
a
a
mess
long
for that
fight.
one. I was a mess for when I fought Edson the second time in Abu Dhabi. I left on Monday to go fight on Saturday night, and I don't think I slept more than 3 hours every night, and I had the worst weight cut of my life because of it. I remember calling my mom, then after I had made weight, and I don't remember much of that conversation with my mom. And that's when she was like, I want you to seriously consider not doing this anymore.
Oh my God! You imagine that's your boy. You're talking to your son. Your
Yeah.
son's about to fight in a cage fight, and he can barely talk.
Yeah.
because he's cutting weight.
There's a couple of those situations with the weight cuts, man. The 5-day notice fight with RDA was, yeah. I remember calling Christine, who's, we're married now, but at the time I don't even think we were engaged. And I remember making her, can you go in the fridge and get a can of Coke and pour it over ice for me, just to watch it. That's how thirsty I was. I wanted to watch her pour a can
my
of Coke.
God.
This is now, granted, this is like 12:30 in Vegas. So it's like 3 a.m. back home. I wake her up to pour soda over ice for me.
She must be like,
Joe,
what kind of fucking maniac
the
am I getting
whole
involved
night-
with?
I found ASMR videos of people drinking sodas. You could probably pull that up.
Oh God!
Chugging ice cold soda. So they have the microphone right on their throat, so you can hear them gulping these ice cold sodas. Now you got to realize I cut 18 pounds or something crazy, and I'm dry heaving in the bathtub and just watching all night. Because Butler, my manager, for a while was they're making sure I was okay. Is this? Yep.
Yeah.
This video has 10 million views.
It's 10 million views.
Chewing
Oh,
ice.
dude, so you can imagine. You're thirsty. You're so thirsty. I just want to be this guy. Oh, he's going to drink it out of the bowl.
He's pouring.
Oh.
He's pouring Fanta into a bowl filled with ice.
It just sounds. And he's going to chug it. He's going to slurp it
Is
all
that
down.
blueberry Fanta?
I don't know, but I'm
I didn't even know there was a blueberry.
blue
Fanta.
raspberry.
Oh wow! He's gonna slurp it.
Oh,
How weird is that? That's a thing that people love ASMR.
I didn't know I still don't watch any ASMR, but at the time, I couldn't stop watching it. I didn't sleep 1 hour the night that so Thursday into Friday, we did the whole weight cut. I still had like a pound that I was hoping to float, which I did end up doing. But the whole night, I was 156.5 or whatever I was, and the whole entire night, I had a severe headache, was dry heaving and watching stuff like that.
Isn't it so insane that fighters will literally get to death's door
The
24
day
hours
before you fight.
Crazy.
25 minutes.
If there's a thing that I could take away from fighting to eliminate, that would be the thing. Because I feel like it's sanctioned cheating. I feel like that's what it is.
It's 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
it's what you're doing.
It's 100%.
You
You're not
know
really
that you have to weigh
155.
155.
Yeah.
I would walk into the cage 182 pounds.
That's so nuts. So nuts.
But you pay a price for that.
Yeah. And if out of all the things that you've done, that's the one thing that you think you would do differently?
And the reason that I keep talking, I've thought about a comeback, and we've kind of teased it, and everybody, even the coaches around me, the reason they'd be interested is because we want to see what I'd be capable of being a healthy, fit. If I could mix now how I've learned to train my system with the triathlon training and having my triathlon coach, this guy David Tilbury Davis, who I work with, he's super science on everything, right? Breaking things down, the mitochondria and how you got to do zone 1 works versus this. If I could mix that in with my MMA training and start applying that to grappling and sparring days, because you start thinking about athletes, the best athletes in the world, and how they prepare and then how they go and fight. We're so ass backwards in fighting, it makes no fucking sense. We're just beating the shit out of each other and then showing up and hoping for the best on fight day. There needs to be much. You're seeing more of it now where people are being a little more scientific with their approach. But I mean, I would just, for me, when I was go hard all the time. 5 5-minute rounds, then 5 5-minute rounds in the bag, then 5 5-minute rounds of jumping rope, go to bed, eat 200 calories, wake up, do it all over again. And it's like, oh, no wonder by 4 weeks into training camp, I wanted to, I didn't want to fight anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, well, now,
What do you think you would try to weigh now to get down to 55?
like right around where I'm at now, like 170 something.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I could easily be walking around as I am now all the time, well below 180 pounds.
Well, look at Frankie. When Frankie won the title, Frankie was basically cutting no weight. When he beat BJ
He's probably
Penn.
eating to even weigh 155 pounds back
look,
then.
he ends his career at 35,
Yeah.
which is pretty wild. You think that he was the champion at 55.
And fighting guys like Ben Henderson, who was
Gray Maynard.
yeah,
Huge.
he was just solid, man.
Gray Maynard was a big fella.
He was big back then.
He was a big fella.
I mean, now, but even think now, like compared to the lightweights now, he's not even that big.
No, some of the
Imagine
look at
Makhachev.
Yeah.
I mean,
Makhachev is so big.
who else is a
and
massive
his
lightweight?
fucking squeeze. I mean, what is his squeeze like?
You see his back when he got that arm triangle on Charles, just the traps and all that. I mean, you can tell when a guy like Charles taps as fast as he did to that. You know that guy's got just a gorilla grip, crazy.
His squeeze was evident in the Drew Dober fight too, because Drew Dober's he's a gorilla
tough,
too,
and he's as tough as they come. Look at some of these comeback fights that he's had recently.
That
last fight
with Bobby Green, holy shit.
He was styling on him.
Yeah,
and it's
Bobby
like,
Green
bro, you can't sleep on Drew for a second, though.
Nope. Drew caught him.
That was one of the fights I always thought I was going to have, and
Drew's,
it never turned out.
His chin is like a fucking fire hydrant. He's such a giga chad. Like
Yeah,
the way
he's
he's
just-
built. His
right?
fucking giant head. And
He's a guy in college. If we were in college together, I would have hated that dude.
So
I'm like,
handsome.
look at this pretty boy. He's so handsome. I hate him. He's got abs,
beautiful hair,
strong,
handsome,
great hair.
Seems like a nice guy. Fuck.
Yeah, right? Got everything going for him. He must be a piece of shit.
Well, I think he's, I think that Makhachev fight ignited something in him as well.
Yeah.
I think when you get the rub, when you fight someone who's that good and you realize, okay,
Yeah,
everything
there's
I'm
another
doing,
level.
I got to ramp it up.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't realize what those levels are, which is why being around elite fighters is so critical for a fighter's early day because you mirror the people that you're training with.
Yeah.
You know, if you are in a gym filled with elite assassins, like you are forced to be at that level. Look
or you go home
Dagestan.
and you don't come back. You know what I mean? You just stop. But if you keep showing up.
Bilal's depiction of what it was like to train with Khabib and be in that camp with them and what those guys do, he goes,
they're crazy.
Yeah. But that's why they're so good.
He'd be like, we'd get done these, you know, he told you, these epic sessions, and then Khabib would be like, all right. And then he takes him for another like 25 minutes just grinding on him after the fact.
Yep.
He was like the warm-up sometimes. He's like, we got to work out. That's not the workout?
Yeah.
They're doing burnout push-ups and stuff at the end, too, squats and planks.
Yeah. But that's what it takes.
You know, it was interesting we talked to Dan Ige before his last fight. And he loves strength and conditioning, right? And I did too when I was a fighter. And he felt very conflicted because you've got a guy like Khabib who's telling him, you don't need that stuff. You need to just do what he's doing. But what Dan realized, and I think if you saw his last fight, something clicked in him, and I think he's starting to trust himself. You can't always just emulate just because somebody's the greatest ever, and what works for Khabib is not necessarily going to always work for you. And he was like, I needed to do strength and conditioning. I needed to do this stuff because he was trying to just do what other people were telling him to do for the longest time, and he was kind of falling short.
Well, George came to that conclusion too. George St. Pierre came to that conclusion. He decided at some point in time that strength and conditioning wasn't important.
Yeah.
And what was really important was efficiency and just technical proficiency, strategy, and efficiency in movements and his martial arts movements. I mean, but obviously you're talking about a guy like George who's already an Adonis.
Yeah.
You know, he's already very strong. And, you know, so he had this physical strength already. And to enhance that and make himself even stronger is not really going to improve his fighting. What really was improving his fighting was just technique and efficiency.
Yeah, and getting better at fighting stuff. Yeah, and you're going to gain strength specific for fighting by grappling. I mean, you can't get some of those muscle groups the way that you need to get them to fire. The only way to do that is to just freaking get that squeeze. And you can do that all day. You know, you can pull on the bands and you can simulate a lot of that stuff, but there's nothing that's ever going to replace trying to control somebody with your legs and their upper body, and at the same time control your breathing and heart rate and try to then squeeze. It's just it's unlike anything else.
Eddie Bravo used to always explain it like tying your shoes. He's like, you got to get a technique down to the point where you do it automatically.
You don't even
when
think
you
about
tie
it.
your shoes, you don't think about tying your shoes.
Nope.
You just go,
Yeah.
and you tie
Done.
your shoes. He's like, that has to be how your technique comes out. You can't be like consciously thinking about it while you're applying it.
Yep.
And if you can get it to that point, and then it's obviously when you're drilling it and executing constantly over and over again, you know how some guys just have a tech. You remember Paul Sass?
Yeah.
He had a triangle from hell. That motherfucker triangled everybody, and everybody knew, stay out of his triangle. Didn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
He just had this, in that movement, he had that movement down so tight and so fluid
That no matter what.
that if you were in his guard, just whap, he would just slap that motherfucker
screwed.
on you.
I mean, look at Habib and Islam, and you know they're going to try to take you down.
Right.
Good luck.
Yeah. Can't stop
They
it.
don't hide it. I'm going to take you down. I'm going to smash you, and I'm going to choke you out.
Smash.
Okay.
Yeah. And he did it over and over and
And
over
you're
again.
just going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, who's been more dominant in their career? Because, like, he arguably lost a round versus Conor. And he had that difficult fight with Gleison Tebow early in his career.
Yeah.
That was a close fight. Other than that, just a
Knife
smash
through butter.
fest.
Yeah.
Smash fest.
And you know a guy's dominant when you talk about, wow, so-and-so lasted 5 rounds with him. It's
I
like,
know, right?
yeah, he got crushed,
Yeah.
but he lasted.
Ally Quinta, yeah.
Tough as shit. Talked
Tough
about
as
that.
shit. Ally Quinta gave a great account of himself. In
Got that fight over me.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I remember that. That was one of those weird ones where they told Max Holloway to stop cutting weight.
Yeah.
That was New York.
Yeah, dude, they had all kinds of stuff going on to
Yeah.
make him make weight. They had that room turned into like a furnace. I swear to God, they were bringing up like butane freaking heaters and
God.
shit into the room. The hotel, they're just trying to hide it all from the hotel lobby in New York, but they're bringing up all this stuff, all these heated blankets, all this stuff. And I remember talking to those guys back then. I think he was gonna make weight, but the doctor, once he saw all that, he's like, I can't.
Well, you gotta
I can't
keep
allow
those-
this anymore.
The doctors, if they saw that doctor saw everyone make weight, they'd
Yeah.
stop it.
Yeah.
This is what Hamzat said. Hamzat said he would have made weight. And by the way, that was in New York as well, right?
Yeah. Just once they see it,
Yeah.
they're gonna because
Get 'em out of
of course
there.
it's
Yeah.
bad for our health.
Of course.
What do you,
It's fucking horrible.
go cut 4 pounds. It's bad for your health.
Yeah.
Imagine what these guys are doing, especially Max in that particular situation. I remember thinking it was a joke. Do you remember it was like April 1st when the news came out that Max was stepping in? Who was originally
Tony Ferguson. He
Tony
tore
Ferg-
his fucking knee
Because
just
he was wearing
tripping over some-
sunglasses.
He wasn't.
Oh, wow.
I said
That
that.
was-
I
that was
said
the-
that, and I apologize to Tony because everybody thought that because Tony wore sunglasses a lot. But no, he just tripped over some fucking loose wires. God damn it, that's
he was,
so
he was probably
crazy.
wearing sunglasses.
I don't think he was. They said he wasn't. He tripped over some fucking wires.
He was
and-
probably
and
kicking
tore
a
his
pole
knee.
right before that, though.
But how crazy is that? He tore his fucking knee tripping over some wires.
And it was April 1st when the news came out about that.
Right.
And everybody's like, no, swear to God, it's not an April Fool's joke. I remember sitting in the basement at Duke's thinking it was an April Fool's joke.
To this day, I wish Tony fought Khabib when Tony was in his prime. Because Tony in his prime, people see him get knocked out by Michael Chandler, and they see him lose to Nate. They see these fights.
It's a damn shame, man.
That's a long road of a battered body from war.
100%.
And if Tony Ferguson, when he was at the top of the heap, was a fucking boogeyman.
Yeah.
He was the boogeyman, man. He really was. He wasn't wearing I wasn't wearing my shades. I actually had my prescription sunglasses on. Oh, well, that's still sunglasses. That's still sunglasses, Tony.
Tony Ferguson, the type of guy to not be wearing sunglasses while wearing sunglasses.
Those Tony Ferguson is the type of guy
Oh, my
memes are
God,
amazing.
I hope he takes that and enjoys it and isn't mad about it. But I feel like Tony
He gets
Ferguson's
mad. He
type
gets
of guy
mad
to
at
get
stuff.
mad about it.
He got mad because I called him a brilliant weirdo.
It's like, you
But he's
are, bro.
so unusual. I mean, he's just his style of moving, and he
Yeah.
would catch you with these weird punches, and he would train on a Wing Chun dummy.
Yep.
Eddie Bravo was working with him, and they were in Big Bear, and he said Tony was in such fucking insane shape that everybody else in camp would be running sprints. Tony would lap them.
Yeah.
He would run these hills,
Yeah.
run back down while these guys were still running, and lap them going up the hills.
I forget who it was. Maybe Jeremy Stevens went and trained with him for a little bit and hung out with him. And he would say that Tony would I think it was Jeremy Stevens who said it, but he would be like, man, he'd just wake you up at 2 a.m. and be like, we're running. And he would just go and do
That's
these.
Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
Floyd
in the
Mayweather
middle
would
of
do
that.
that too. He would go to a club, drink water, hang out with everybody, and then run 10 miles home.
Yeah.
But that's what it takes to be elite. I just don't think Tony got his chance. I mean, Tony beat Kevin Lee, and he beat some really good guys, and he won the interim title.
That's definitely the fight that got away
Yes,
from.
got away. That would have been a really
John Jones
amazing fight.
And Ngannou is another one now where we're all like,
That might still happen.
Could
That
happen.
could still happen.
but will it happen
I hope
when
so.
when we all want it to happen? You know what I
Well-
mean? If it happens in 4 years from now,
But it doesn't have to happen in 4 years. Here's my thing. Again, Mr. Ngannou, please hear me out. This is,
Don't
just for
sign any
legacy, and just for also money. I think the big money is if he has an account. What if he knocks out Dillian White? Right? What if they set him up with some boxer who's an elite boxer, not Tyson Fury,
And he goes and wins a big fight?
And you got to remember, Ngannou is 265 ripped, natural,
cutting weight to probably be at 265.
with canned hams for fists.
Yeah.
Just giant. He's a fucking specimen, and the power is extraordinary. And if he's just punching and not worrying about takedowns, if one of those look at Wilder. Wilder, who's the greatest
He's
knockout artist ever.
Crazy.
Greatest. He's a one-punch knockout artist. I would say, I mean, you have your George Foremans and Mike Tyson had the most beautiful combinations we've ever seen in the heavyweight division. But Wilder
Pure
just
power.
blap. Did you see his last fight?
It wasn't even
Moving
it was just-
away. He hits
Yeah.
this guy, and the guy's stiff. He has that one Ortiz when he hit Ortiz in the forehead. Pull that up. Pull up. Wilder knocks out Ortiz because he hit him And Ortiz is a durable guy, a tough guy. And he had Wilder in some trouble in that fight. And Wilder just hit him right in the forehead.
Yeah, you can tell,
Head
man.
snaps back, and Ortiz's eyes are rolled back. He's like, what the fuck just hit me?
Those are the things you can't train. That is God's gift to you.
And again, it's that long frame like you were talking
yeah,
about.
look at another lean.
Look at that. Oh, my goodness. Look at this. Watch this. Here it goes again. Bam! I mean, look at Ortiz. Ortiz is like, what?
What the fuck?
He's just like trying to put his
You don't even
mouthpiece
know
back in.
his mouthpiece is in. He's still trying to find it.
His legs aren't moving.
Like, wait a
Look at
minute.
him. He's like, what the fuck? Look at his face.
He's like upset about it.
He's confused. Wilder, preposterous power. But it just goes to show you, like, there's levels. Look at the chin of Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, the 12th round, that first fight, drops him, right hand, left hook, and even does this like it's over. Like, I got him.
Yeah.
I got him.
And
Nope.
he rises from the dead.
Just
I remember
fucking
watching that one
crazy.
live, and I couldn't believe it. I
was
was like, oh, that's it. He's done.
Alone in my bedroom screaming. Alone in my bedroom screaming, oh my God, he's winning the 12th round. My wife was in the other room like, what the fuck are you yelling at? I'm like, he's winning the fucking 12th round. This is insane. He almost gets killed. He gets back up and he wins. Plan B option if Usyk fight fails to happen is Ngannou.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Well, the Usyk fight's gonna happen. It's the most important fight in boxing. I think that fight is gigantic because you got Usyk who's, beats Joshua twice and the best movement in boxing and skillful. He's a heavyweight Lomachenko.
Yeah.
And was the cruiserweight champion as an undersized heavyweight. And you got Tyson, who's as big a heavyweight as you're ever going to see.
Massive.
6'9", long as fuck.
Crazy.
Agile with back fat. Like
That picture right there, I
crazy.
couldn't tell
Go
if
to
his
that picture.
pants were falling down or...
Go back to that picture, Jamie. The picture just showed the Usyk, the backup fight, that he's a backup fighter. The one that you just had up. If you look, the rolls of fat off his back.
Yeah, look at it there.
That back
Oh, yeah,
fat is
man.
insane.
Peak male performance
The
right there.
bodybuilder. So you beat the bodybuilder. You haven't fought the Gypsy King.
They're crazy, dude.
He's the fucking best.
Dad's out of his mind, too.
I love him. I love that guy. Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk headed to Wembley in April. Huge boost to British boxing fans. What a fucking fight that's going to be. My God, that's going to be amazing. I just don't know if Usyk has the size to deal with that guy. It's going to be interesting to see what strategy he employs, whether or not he can avoid the big bombs and the reach and the length.
So long.
But
Not the long, lean type that we're talking about.
no.
A little different.
Long.
A little different.
I mean, he doesn't give a fuck what his body looks like. He's just a fighter.
Is he sober? Is he not sober? He's back on the sauce now?
He just doesn't drink in camp.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I don't know if he's sober. I don't think he's sober.
He's always, that's what I mean. That's why I'm asking. I know he goes back and forth on, he's right in the head and then he's not. And then you'll see him in a clip and he's had, 14
My mental
pints.
health.
Yeah.
Well, he's an inspirational story. I mean, it really is. I mean, the guy was like, he beats Vladimir Klitschko. He becomes a heavyweight champion and then loses his fucking mind.
Yeah.
He's drinking constantly, almost committed suicide, was driving his Ferrari, thinking about just fucking driving off a cliff, and then gets it together and becomes a heavyweight champion again.
Yeah.
And then wasn't fully all the way back when he fought Wilder.
Yeah.
And then fights Wilder in the rematch, and then now he's fucking tuned up and ready, beats the brakes off of Wilder. And then the third fight, Wilder catches him with a bomb.
Yeah.
That bomb that he caught him where you see the fat ripple all the way down to his body. Any other human that
not
Wilder
getting back up.
Any other human. Nobody punches like Wilder. Nobody.
Because you like we talked about, it's just it's in him. It's not, he's not doing something in the gym with a trainer to get that kind of power.
No.
You were born with that gift.
It's also being a gypsy and being around that fucking rough, tumble, brawling world his whole life. His dad's a fighter. His brother's a fighter. Everyone's a fighter around him. Just fucking savages. Just in the bones.
Yeah, there's
in the bones.
gypsy people, man.
Whenever he talks about retiring, I'm like, not yet.
Yeah.
Don't do it. I think that if he does beat Usyk, it's still possible because they're going to fight in April, right? Unless Ngannou decides to take a big money boxing fight before that, which I don't blame him for doing. But God damn it, if he beats Usyk, that's really the only compelling, interesting thing for him in that division. I mean, what else would be compelling? The Joshua fight? Not really. Not after the Usyk fights. I mean, unless Joshua comes back, because they're talking about Joshua fighting Wilder, right? Isn't that the talk? No. They're talking about Ortiz fighting Wilder, right? No. Ruiz. Andy Ruiz, right? That's what they're talking about. So Andy Ruiz, they're talking about him fighting Wilder. If that's... Look, Wilder versus Ngannou would be crazy.
Yeah,
that would be crazy. How about that fight?
I just think as long as he gets something.
Yeah, I just
you know
want him to
what I mean?
get
If
that.
you're going to leave that contract on the
Get that
table, I hope
payday.
you get some big
Get that
fights,
payday.
man, because that was a big.
Yeah. I mean, they
It's a big
offered
payday
him
to leave
more
behind.
money than any heavyweight before. But I think the sticking point, I'm talking out of school here because I don't know, just what I've read. The sticking point, I think, was that he wanted to be able to go off and do boxing.
Yeah.
To his credit, he's like, hey, Conor McGregor did it. Why can't I do it?
Yeah.
And I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I get it.
But,
If I'm getting
yeah.
hundreds of $millions a fight
Right.
on the table, it's
Conor
hard to.
made $100 million in the Floyd Mayweather fight.
Yeah.
I mean, that's generational wealth.
Yeah.
Like, how do you fucking
But he
say
lucked
no?
out where the UFC wanted to partner with that and make that
Yes.
happen, right? That's where that whole situation
Yes.
really, and that's what Ngannou, I guess, wanted too. And it's
Yeah.
just like, man, they probably did that one time, and we're like, all right, you know what?
Yeah.
That was a whole.
What's
a whole
also
lot.
if the boxer beats up the UFC fighter?
Yeah, how many
and
times do you want to sign up for that?
you can't get the boxer to fight UFC.
Yeah,
The
no.
thing is, no one wants to do that. No one wants to do that.
Which I, you know, what drives me nuts though is they still will go and talk all this trash. A lot of these boxers, it's like you guys know that given a street fight rules, you're getting your ass. I mean, you're getting your ass kicked. I
Yeah.
don't care who you are.
An amateur fighter will kill you.
Yeah, they're just going to
Yeah.
take you down. You're getting choked out.
Yeah, you'll get leg kicked. You won't be able to stop a takedown.
They can sit there and just do
Yeah.
this to you for 25 minutes if they want.
Any like elite. Imagine any elite wrestler that gets in there with a boxer. The boxer has zero chance of not being taken down. Literally zero, unless that boxer's like Crawford. Like Terrence Crawford has a background in wrestling.
Then
That's
and if you
fucking
don't know that, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to take this guy down. He sprawls on you that one time and
Oh,
cracks
no.
you. Can you imagine the panic that would
Oh
set in?
my
You're like,
god! Oh my
shit.
god! I can't take him down, and
Oh,
I'm
no.
fucked. Oh
now
my
I got to
God.
box this guy?
That's a fight that we're missing out too. Him and Earl Spence. That's a fight we're missing out on. That bums me out. I hope
got
they
to
can
follow
still
my.
do that.
I mean, with so much, we have so many fights now with the UFC that it's even hard for me to keep track of.
It's very hard.
all the boxing stuff that's going on.
Oh, my
because,
God,
we
I
have
keep-
fights every weekend.
I keep track of that. I keep track of jiu-jitsu. I keep track of all the elite kickboxers. That's why I was so excited when Pereira fought in the UFC. I was
'Cause you've
telling
been
those
following
guys-
him for a
Well, I
while.
was telling Dana a while ago. I was like, this guy just fought. He just fought MMA. Like he's.
I remember
he's
watching
trying to make
Izzy
his
back
way.
when he was still kickboxing. So when that debut came up, I was excited about that. A friend of mine had
Yes.
been telling me about him for a while. He's like, you got to watch this guy style.
Oh
bender."
yeah, oh yeah. You know, I contacted Izzy way before he fought in the UFC, and I asked him about it. And Izzy played it real smart. He was like, "They give me a lot of money to fight in China. He's getting a lot of money, and he's like, I want to do this the right way,
Yeah.
and get really prepared." And to his credit, he did it
Because you-
perfectly.
then what's the point? Congratulations, you got offered a UFC contract and you just got wrestled to death. It's like,
Exactly, exactly.
There's no point because he
No
turned it
point.
down a few times. I think.
Yes,
They were trying to get him even earlier, but it's.
Yes, he did it the right way.
Yeah.
He did it the right way.
You know what these guys are going to try to do. If you come in with that kind of kickboxing pedigree, they're
What
going to
do
take you down.
What do you think he does in the rematch? What do you think he does differently?
Well, I mean, you got to
Obviously
remember
avoids
that
calf kick.
Yeah, he was doing really well, and he had hurt him really bad.
Almost had him stopped
like
in the first
right
round.
away. I couldn't
Yeah.
believe it. I was like, oh my god.
Right hand, left hook at the bell. Yeah. But
know.
Pereira came back in that second round like it never happened.
Yeah.
He's so big, dude.
He's
Do you see when you stand next to Jamal
stoic.
Hill?
Yeah.
When he's like staring
Just
down Jamal Hill?
melting his face. As soon as I saw that, and I was there, I didn't know what it hadn't been translated yet. I didn't know what Glover was saying, and he kept pointing back at Alex, and I'm like, oh shit, he's setting up this fight now. He's going to retire, and he's setting up this fight. And it
Yes.
wasn't what he was saying. He was saying he was going to focus on training,
training him.
Pereira. But
Yeah.
at first, I thought Jamal's open to it,
Oh, man, I love that fight. I love Jamal, man.
dude. That guy
So good.
has a lot of potential.
And
because,
getting better all the time.
And he took that fight. I mean, he didn't have a full training camp.
Right. And he still fought 5 hard, long rounds at
against
extreme
one of the
pace.
Adorable sons of bitches that the UFC has ever seen.
Grappling talent. Jamal
and
showed
he's been
grappling.
saying that since the beginning. Like even when he was on Contender Series and we were talking to him, he's like, I know I'm known for these knockouts, but he was telling everybody, listen, I got really good jiu-jitsu. Finally got to show it. I mean, if you can escape those positions in a title fight against somebody like Glover Teixeira in Brazil and get out and do what you did, man.
Yes. And did you see the Yuri Prohaska thing?
Oh my God!
So find the Yuri Prohaska
you see
reaction and Jamal's reaction to Yuri.
Where are you at though?
Jamal's so funny. Jamal, I don't want to say it because you need to see it. Jamal's so funny. He's funny on Instagram.
He's low key
too.
funny too. The way it's just that subtle funny. Because I saw him. We were upstairs at the hotel because all our flights were leaving like crazy late from Brazil, and he had seen that video, and he's like, where's he getting the internet out there? He's like, is he watching the fight out in the woods? Was he watching it? Or did he watch it and then go out into the woods? I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So you can find, that's it. Play this live so we can hear it. Play it. No, do it. Redo it so we can hear the whole thing. Because you gotta, okay.
Congratulations.
He's out in the snow.
I'm coming. I'm coming!
No, but then Jamal's response to that, they have it back to back. Here it goes.
But where you at, though? Where you at, though? By the way, that's what she said. That's what she said!
But where you at, though?
He's the man.
He's the man. And, you talk about a guy who's got crazy power, too. And just intelligence of how to get that fucking power to your chin.
I think that's
the craftiness.
what was underrated. And now I think after this last fight, people are a little more aware of that. But he's very calculated.
Very.
He's a calculated striker. Even though it looks like it's coming from unorthodox angles, when I talked to him afterwards, the head kick was planned. Like they knew in order to switch southpaw seamlessly without kind of giving everything away, that was their plan. It was like, all right, when we switch, Glover's going to see we're switching. So what are we going to do to kind of stifle him for a second so that we can transition into that
left high kick?
Best thing you can do, man, is just throw a bomb, because you have to address the head kick. You throw a body kick, a guy like Glover, what's he going to do?
Catch it.
He's going to catch it, he's going to take down. Even if you hurt him, he's going to drive through and potentially get the takedown. You throw it to the head, you're not catching head kicks.
Yeah.
Unless you get lucky, it bounces off and they treetop you, but chances are they're going to go like this.
Yeah, it was interesting because he caught him a couple of times, that head kick, and wobbled Glover.
He's got like a size 16 foot. So think about it. Glover's blocking it. The big old foot is just wrapping around the side of his head.
You know better than anybody, even if you block it, just the impact.
Rattles you.
Yeah.
It rattles everything. And I was even saying on the broadcast that it's a good idea, even if it doesn't hit his head, for people at home, we were talking about the leg kicks. Go ahead like this and let me take a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Block this baseball bat.
Right.
It's going to hurt even on your forearms.
By the way, he kicks harder than you can swing a baseball bat, too.
Yeah, of course.
People need to know that, too.
Yes,
like,
because it's coming from down here, and your leg is bigger than a baseball bat.
Yeah, and especially if someone has like real power in their hips and knows how to really swing it.
I think he needs to keep developing that.
Oh my God,
keep developing that left kick and get a little more flexible, because you could tell he's just hammering it up there.
Yeah.
It's like if he starts working that and gets sneaky behind, maybe setting it up with kind of like Leon did against Kamaru, where you set it up with that cross, kind of pump fake it.
So many good fights in that weight class, right? You have Yuri, who's coming back, gets the shoulder surgery, which
hopefully not too soon though, man.
Right.
Because apparently that was a pretty devastating injury that he had. I don't know what he all tore in there, but.
Well, tell the story of what happened, because it's kind of crazy. You know the story with Yuri?
No.
His shoulder gets out of socket in training camp, which is dangerous enough, right? Like,
yeah.
So his camp, they try to put the shoulder back in.
Oh, I heard they were
yank on it, and they tear it to shreds. So the UFC doctor said it was the worst shoulder injury he had ever seen.
That's what I had heard.
That's not
I forgot
good.
that they said that. People trying to put it back in place. Everybody just sees a video of a doctor doing that, and it's like.
Well, you have to also recognize too, and I hope Yuri knows this, and if he doesn't, maybe he's listening. Your muscle tissue will heal faster than your connective tissue, your tendons and your ligaments.
Yeah.
You feel good, but it's not ready.
No.
That's why guys blow out their ACL again after doing it. Like
'cause
they
it's
get
like,
their
okay,
surgery.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
It's like, no, man. You're
Yeah.
not good to go.
Ed Herman did that, right? He gets the ACL surgery, recovering from ACL surgery, feeling pretty good, blows it out again.
Yeah.
That's really common
Yeah.
because the ligaments, even though they feel ready, the tissue around them is strong, the actual
not ready
ligaments
to go.
themselves are not. They take a long time. The blood supply is very weak.
That's one of those injuries that, I mean,
Shoulders are rough.
shoulders and ACLs. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I had minor injuries throughout fighting to my knee, thank God, like meniscus stuff, that they go in and
yeah, but
cut
even
that
that,
out.
your knee's kind of compromised after that.
To this day, because I'm missing the whole inside part of it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm just standing around, I can kind of like shake it. I can feel that it's
Yeah, he wobbles. I'm missing
yeah.
that on my inside of my left leg
'Cause
too.
it's-
Yeah, it wobbles.
there's no cushion there.
Yeah, I got an insufficiency fracture from skiing because I fell and my knees clashed into each other because there's no ligament, or there's no meniscus on that side, and
Yeah.
there was a crack. I was like, something's
Yeah,
wrong. And I
yeah,
went and
that
got
makes
an
sense.
X-ray.
Yeah. You probably, even if you run too much with no meniscus, which is probably what I'm doing to myself at the moment.
I'm sure you're doing
And my
that.
hip, something, like your hip bone. What runs across that? Is that part of your IT, man? That runs like literally across your.
I don't know. Do you get it worked on? Do you get it looked at?
Oh, I'm so bad at all that stuff, man.
Are you? You just
Yeah, I'm
try
that
to
guy. It's like,
ignore it?
I'm just gonna. I'm good to go.
You're saying that about blood work. Like, if I don't want to look at it.
Oh man. Like Christine she's like, you need to go get your kidneys looked at. And I'm like, I don't.
Does it bother
I don't
you?
wanna
Do they
know.
bother you? They hurt?
Sometimes I got a little twinge back on the right side here, and I think it's
Did you ever get kidney stones?
never had kidney stones, but I did have I had the rhabdo after the Hooker fight, and I was
That's
peeing
scary
I was
shit.
peeing Coca-Cola, and that's how I knew. And I mean, several
What did
times
they
I
do
pee
to
blood,
What did they do to fix the rhabdo?
flushed the shit out of me with IVs basically, and made me wait in the hospital until my levels in the blood. They kept just taking little samples of blood.
Rhabdo is something that a lot of CrossFit people get.
Yeah, you just work your
Yeah.
you work your muscles so bad they start to break apart and like I forget what starts to go poisons your blood basically.
Yeah, basically. Rhabdomyolysis, right? That's what it's called.
Myolysis, right?
that what it is?
Rhabdomyolysis.
Something like that. But it's very sketchy stuff.
Yeah, it
Because-
looks like you're peeing straight cola.
Well, that's that when people say, "Oh, there's no such thing as overtraining." Oh,
Oh,
there
there
fucking most certainly is.
You can literally destroy your kidneys from doing
Yeah,
it.
you could die.
And you could
Yeah,
die.
people
And
die
I think a
from
lot of
rhabdo.
it for me was because of the damage to my actual muscles, which was causing it. And because it wasn't the weight cut for that one. That one, I was dialed in for that one. So I know it wasn't putting too much strain in that, but 25 minutes of a dude hammering your calf, calf starts to break. It was probably starting to break apart. It almost had compartment syndrome.
This is the Hooker fight?
This is the Hooker fight, yeah. And I broke my orbital.
Jesus. That's a lot of stuff going on.
Oh, dude, for
When
the
you
longest
fought-
time, I was seeing like I was getting double vision. It's fine since retiring. It's finally going away. But if I look to my right, even now, like if I was looking at you, this eye would start to kind of do its own thing a little bit. Not anymore though. It's been good.
When Bilal was telling me about getting his surgery, and
When he
then-
got poked?
yeah, and then he fucked up the other eye as well. It's like you realize these guys. You know about that guy, that Russian cat that's fighting? The UFC just signed him. He has one eye.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know he had one eye though. I
got
thought it
one
was
eye.
just discolored.
No. It's useless. It's gone. Yeah, his right eye. And I guess they're going to let him fight. Which I always thought that Bisping gamed the system, which I think he did.
Yeah, he kind of like.
Yeah.
you know.
Well, Bisping would pretend that he could see out of it. So he would memorize the eye chart. And so, fucking, how tough is that guy?
He's a G, bro.
How tough is that guy? If guy fought 11 fights in the UFC, including winning the world title and defending the world title with one eye.
With one eye.
Fucking animal. Fucking animal.
It's so crazy. You'll be sitting on which side is it? Which side is it?
It's
when
his
we
right
sit
eye.
on?
It's his right eye.
And man, like he'll bump in. I mean, it's legit.
Yeah, you
like
can't
for
see.
anybody that's doubting Michael,
No, he literally
cannot
see out of that eye.
eye. Yeah.
And I remember when it went bad, the Vitor fight.
Yeah.
Vitor head kicked him. And it went
And
bad.
worse for wear is that was super sauced up Vitor, right?
Saucy Vitor. Saucy Vitor. That was back in the days where they allowed them to do testosterone
Yeah.
replacement therapy, which is so
It's
crazy.
like, oh, I need some testosterone. It's like, you don't need that much.
Well, that was what was crazy about MMA is that, you know, it's such a new sport, is that there was so much shenanigans that was allowed.
Yeah.
Like, look, if they started the UFC today, if the sport started from scratch, you think they'd allow extreme weight cutting? No, they would. If
No.
you were going to start it from the beginning.
There'd be hydration testing.
Yes, they would do it. I don't know how ONE FC is doing it because apparently on one of the most recent ONE FC cards, 9 people failed their weight cut.
Because they're trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're trying
They
to.
didn't make weight. So, like, I don't know what the fuck do you do with that? And when I'm looking at those guys in ONE FC, I'm like, I'll go to your drug test.
Oh, what?
Because they don't look very
well,
good.
that's where it's like, wait a minute.
Right.
We're worried about them cutting weight. Meanwhile, these guys are taking
Yeah.
every supplement known to
Right.
mankind. It's like, I don't know if we should be worried about the weight cutting before
Including
we're
probably
worried about.
diuretics.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're well, maybe not if they're doing a hydration test.
Well, yeah.
I don't
I was
know.
talking to Eddie a while ago about it when he was fighting for ONE FC, and he was kind of talking about how he had to do the weight cut thing and how much you had to weigh, but I don't remember all the specifics, but I know it's you have to have a certain level in your urine or something like that so that they know, but
How about
There's
that
gotta be
fucking
ways around
cat
it.
that he fought in his first ONE fight? What's his name? Nastyukin? Is that his name?
oh, I don't even remember.
I think it's Timothy. I think is literally the first letters of his name are nasty. Is that his Eddie Alvarez? He fought this fucking animal. It's like you need to know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Look at Nastyukin.
Where's
What?
he from?
Oh, Russia.
Yep.
Russia, of course. Fucking tank, so big. He was so big, and you know when you
Oh,
look
yeah.
at the size of that
Yep,
motherfucker.
yep. That's
And a
natural.
ruthless striker, ruthless fucking striker. But it's like,
Oh,
when-
was he the one that was crushing Eddie's legs
yeah,
too?
he stopped Eddie. He stopped Eddie in Eddie's first fight back, first fight there. But
Eddie's tough, dude. I've trained
tough as
with
shit,
him. And
tough
he's,
as shit, fucking animal. But you know, I mean, look how big Nastyukin is. Look, he's taller than him, thicker than him. He's a big motherfucker. I mean, look, Eddie, you know, fought 55 in the UFC. That guy looks like a big 170.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a big
Thick.
fucking fella. But that's my point is that there's talent all over the world now.
Yeah.
There's not, like, the world-class talent is not limited to the UFC. We're getting these guys that enter into the UFC, and they're elite already.
They already have they're 20-0. Some of these guys,
Yes.
or 19-2, or some crazy records like
Yes.
that. No, dude, there's-
Yes. That fucking cat that just fought, that just knocked out Terrence McKinney in Brazil.
Bonfim brothers.
Holy shit, is
You
he
want to
good.
talk about a guy that showed up and just had done his homework
Oh, my God,
for
dude.
that fight, bro.
And McKinney's a bad motherfucker, dude.
Yeah.
McKinney, when he put it on Drew Dober and almost had Drew Dober out in that fight and showed how durable Drew Dober is, and Drew Dober recovered and survived and wound up winning the fight,
Yeah.
I was like, damn, McKinney's a future champion. But this fucking guy,
Oh, is this
guy,
the flying knee?
Bonfim is a monster.
And
He's
his brother,
so
Savage,
talented.
as well. You see
Oh,
his
yeah.
brother was watching back there.
Look at that flying
Right
knee.
on the neck. I
Oh,
talked
my
to
God.
Terrence after that, and I was like, he's like, bro, thank God that hit me here. He's like, my teeth would have been gone.
Yeah, because he didn't have his mouthpiece
mouthpiece
in
was
at
out.
that time, which I was wondering why the referee didn't put the mouthpiece back in because there was a lot of time there between the mouthpiece falling out. They could
Yeah.
have, there
I
was
think we said
separation.
it. We're like, why wouldn't you put this in here? But
What a brilliant flying knee, though. I mean, the way he set it up shows him the right switch knee, and you know that was what Faraz Sahabi was talking about when he justified the stoppage with Israel versus Pereira. He was like, nobody has a better switch knee than Pereira.
if you're lingering your
Yes.
head in front of that dude,
That motherfucker.
stop the fight now because
Please.
you're not coming. You're not going to come back the same person after a knockout like that because you're already messed up.
Yes.
and then you let Pereira smash you in the face
With one
with
of
a
the most
flying knee.
powerful moves in all of MMA.
Yeah, no.
If you watch his fight with Jason Wilness in Glory, where
Yeah.
he stops Wilness with that flying knee, His fucking in the first fight he had in the UFC where he knocked
Yep.
that cat out with flying knee.
And that guy taking him down a bunch, and then it's just all takes one of those. And it's a game changer.
Yeah, but these guys like Bonfim and his brother, the other Bonfim, it's Israel and
Ishmael and Gabriel.
And Gabriel won by guillotine. I
Yep.
mean, both those guys fucking talented.
And both against legit dudes.
Yes.
Gabriel fought Munir Lazez.
Yes.
He's a good,
yes.
good
Very
fighter.
good fighter. Very
and
good fighter.
He made him shoot. He made him panic shoot.
Yep.
He pressured the shit out of him, and he made him. And that's his thing. He's like, God.
Yeah.
And it's funny. They're both so well rounded, but you can tell Gabriel forces guys into these grappling exchanges, whereas Ishmael, you can tell that dude just wants to take your head off. But they can both do either one.
Both either one, and also like the movement and management of distance is fucking phenomenal, like elite world class. I mean, that's what I said when you watch that fight. I'm like, you're watching these guys in their debut fight in the
because
UFC.
they've been tested against legit talent. If you look at the records of the guys they fought some legit dudes. Whereas back in the day, you know, you could be 10-0 getting into the UFC, and you didn't fight. You might have fought one or two guys at the end there to get.
Right.
Joe Silva's attention back in the day, because I remember when you were trying to get in, he'd be like, "Can you got to go beat somebody for me to sign you." You could be 15-0, but if you've beaten a bunch of guys that are all 0-10, you're going to get here with a great record and then get murdered.
Joe Silva was so brutal. He was so brutal.
He sent my ass to Brazil because we begged for a guy that was in the top 15. He's like, "Sure, here you go. Got to go fight Massaranduba down in." I was like, anybody else? He's like, "That fight or no fight."
Yeah.
Okay.
But I guess you kind of have to be like that.
Then if you got hurt, though, and I had a good relationship with Joe, but one time when I hurt my knee, I had to pull out. He's like, "Unbelievable. You're hurt? You got to pull out? Great."
But
It's like, bro, I tore my meniscus. What do you want me to do? I had a bucket handle tear.
That's the
I was
worst,
at
'cause it
Cowboys
locks.
Ranch doing this. I was wheeling around in a chair because I couldn't stand up.
Yeah, the bucket handle tears what I had.
It
Same
locked
thing.
up,
It locks up. That's horrible. Terrible feeling. I tried to rehabilitate mine. I actually got it stitched up.
Yeah.
Because it was the same knee that I tore my ACL, and I got it stitched up. But you just can't. The meniscus just goes, man.
Yeah, it's just wear and tear, man.
Do you know they're doing meniscus replacements now?
Yeah, back
They're
when I had it done, they're just cutting that shit out.
Cadaver meniscus now. They're taking, but apparently as you get older, it's less and less effective. It's
Yeah, because it probably won't.
with blood flow. It's just a blood flow thing. But I always wonder, like, when they say blood flow, are they talking about that for elite athletes? Like, how much blood flow are we talking about? If you're talking about for a regular person, maybe because they're not training and they're not going to rehabilitate it to the extent that like a guy like you would do.
my mom getting a meniscus versus us getting one who are going to go and work out every day. It's going to be a different situation. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I don't know.
I always just thank God for medical science. Because just think about, I have both my ACLs reconstructed. I would be a hobbling mess of a man if I lived at any other time.
Yeah.
My friend Steve.
You'd be broken.
I'd be broken. I wouldn't be able to do it. And I could do everything. It's crazy. I mean, I'm 55, and my body works as good as it worked when I was 30, which is nuts. With hormone replacement and stem cells and peptides and all this shit, it's amazing what you can do now. When I was a kid, I thought of a 55-year-old man. Like, that's a dead man.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a guy with a six-pack who's throwing kettlebells around. Like, it's a totally different world.
It is different. I mean, I thought the same thing. Like, if you thought of somebody that was even over 45, I'd be like, oh man, that's time to settle in. And
when I was a kid, when I was 19 years old, I used to work at an athletic club. I worked at the Boston Athletic Club, and Bobby Orr used to come in and work out. And Bobby Orr, who's one of the greatest hockey players that's ever lived, Bobby Orr can barely walk.
Yeah.
This poor guy, because he's had those old school surgeries where they would cut your leg open like a fish.
Yeah, you're
and
screwed.
Just bolt things down and staple it together. Well, Bobby would get on the VersaClimber machine, and we would have to help him get on this machine because his legs would go. This is the range of motion. It goes from this to this.
Yeah.
Never fully extended. Either look at that's his knee, bro. When you see it in real life, it's
like a brain.
Yeah, it's horrible. And again, I'm sure he probably has knee replacements now. But like when they worked on his knee back then, look, it's black and white photos. Look at his knees there. That photo there with the two of them see the big scar, the color one down there. Don't make me bust out the fucking
I don't
thing.
think that's him.
That's not him?
No, it just says old guy hockey. That's why I
Old
wasn't
guy
going with
hockey,
that.
knee replacement. Yeah, that's.
But those
Yeah.
big slices like that.
Well, they do knee replacements now. Kelly Starrett, who's a very famous strength and conditioning coach, he blew his knee out and eventually got a knee replacement, and he says it's amazing. He said he could do everything with it. And Michael Bisping, both of his knees.
He's got two of them.
Yeah. Old guy hockey.
I think for me, it's just going to be my hip someday is going to go. No doubt.
Well, have you got any stem cells in there?
No.
Oh, you should. You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed at what they can do. Take a trip down to Colombia, my
know.
friend.
I
Go
see
to
everybody
Panama.
doing these things now, yeah.
Well, Aljamain's doing that right now. Aljamain, there was an article I read this morning. Aljamain is trying to avoid bicep surgery. He has a torn biceps, and he's going down to Colombia right now to get it shot up.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to get him to fight. They're trying to get him to fight Henry Cejudo in April.
Sooner than he wants, yeah.
Right. So here we are right now. We're in February. So you
That's
got
really soon.
March, April. Yeah, I don't like it. What does it say? Next week I'm off to Medellin, Colombia for a bioaccelerator stem cell treatment program. Very optimistic this will get me back and ready to compete sooner than later. Well, this is where I'm a big fan of the Conor McGregor approach to avoiding the USADA testing pool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just to heal up.
I don't know what Conor did. I don't know what's happening when he's outside of that pole, but I've never seen a guy get that big before.
That big and
He looks
just
amazing.
recover from a broken shin like it was no big deal. I mean, look at Chris Weidman.
Yeah.
He was having all kinds of complications with that thing. It's
think he
not an
still
easy
is.
surgery to come back from, and infections and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
can start to happen. Look at Luke Rockhold, who couldn't even get over a staph infection. He still puts on sleeves on that shin. Mm-hmm. That's man.
It's crazy. But that is better than the break. The break is it's very rare that someone comes. I mean, Anderson is the only guy that's really come back. Weidman still hasn't come back.
No,
he hasn't had a fight since that fight with Uriah. I mean, it's a devastating move. And also Tyrone Spong when he fought Gokhan Saki,
yeah.
Same thing.
that's just it's horror. It's like nightmare fuel.
Very
breaking your
scary.
shin like that, man. As a fighter, that you have nightmares about that.
The first time that happened in the UFC was Corey Hill, and I remember
He was-
screaming
yeah.
at the referee, "Stop the fight!"
Yeah.
Because the referee, I don't
Didn't
think
know.
he recognized it yet. He recognized it eventually, but he
Didn't he step back on it too?
Yeah,
That's
they always
the
do.
worst. They always do because
Yeah.
it's your instinct.
You don't even know.
Smack.
Well, you don't know it's broken yet. You just know it hurts. I mean,
Yeah,
how many
like,
times
oh,
does it
shit.
hurt and not break? But that's the thing about shins. It's like when
I'm
that
surprised it
thing
hasn't
snaps,
they haven't had any crazy. What is it called when it pops through the skin?
compound
fractures. I'm
That's
surprised we haven't
Weidman
seen
did.
that.
Weidman
Did it?
did, yeah. Weidman's popped out the back of his leg. Yeah, popped out the back of his calf. I mean, Chris has been how many years out now? Is it 2?
That's been a while, man.
When was the Uriah Hall fight? I want to say it was 20. I want to say it was 2020. It might be more than 2 years. 2020 or 2021. I mean, first kick he throws, full blast.
Just snap.
Oh God, 21.
21.
April of 2021. So yeah, we're closing in on 2 years now, and still hasn't been able to come back. Fuck, man. Chris Weidman, that's another guy, man. When he was in his prime, he was such a motherfucker, dude.
I mean, to take out
Everybody.
when he beat Silva, though, that was when we were all like, "Man, nobody's gonna beat this guy.
Right.
Can't beat this guy. This
Yeah.
can't beat this guy."
And he was beating Luke Rockhold, and he throws a wheel kick. Isn't that wild? That one kick, which, by the way, not a good kick either. He's not good at it. It's not his
You're
thing.
a wrestler, Chris.
Yeah. I mean, why did he decide to do that? And then he gets taken down and smacked. And Luke Rockhold's top game
Crushed him.
Ooh, his top game is fucking nasty.
Yeah.
What he did to Lyoto Machida.
Yeah, I was in the stands for that one. I was watching that one.
Look, Chris Weidman was a bad motherfucker.
Here it is.
Yeah. Chris Weidman was such a bad motherfucker.
Like,
Look,
that
he
was
throws
so
that
bad.
so bad. And then he gets wrestled down. He gets taken down and just destroyed. I mean, it's such a bad kick. And Luke Rockhold, when he gets on top of you, he's one of the worst guys to ever have on top of you. The David Branch fight when he got on top of him and smashed him. I mean, Luke was so fucking good at top game. His fucking jiu-jitsu is so underrated. I mean, I don't even
he's-
say it's underrated.
Yeah,
it's just
he's
like,
good, man.
If he had just completely concentrated only on jiu-jitsu, I think Luke could have been a world-class jiu-jitsu competitor.
Yeah.
He's so fucking strong. And he came up with that camp with DC
Yeah.
and Cain Velasquez. So he's like in there with these elite heavyweight wrestlers all the time.
He loves that left kick as well.
Isn't it crazy, though, that like one fight like that with Weidman just changes the trajectory of his career?
Yep.
Before that, he's this destroyer. The Lyoto Machida fight, I said, like, remember that fight? He gets Lyoto down and just smashes him.
Yeah.
And you're
Bad.
like, Jesus Christ. Chris was so mentally tough and so fucking good at everything. Great striker, great wrestling, tough as fucking nails.
It's almost like you get these one moment where things don't go right, and then you can't. I don't know if it's the competition around you sees a weakness in you, and then they aren't as intimidated by you, and then starts to. But I think it also is just this game is so young, and people are getting so good so fucking fast, man. Like nowadays, these kids, it's unbelievable
Look at this
how
Raul
good they
Rosas
are.
Jr.
19 years old.
He's not even. He's
18,
18.
right?
18 years old, fighting in the UFC. And
Well, he's fighting. He's got a
running
good
people
fight too.
over.
He's fighting Christian Rodriguez, who I
Yes.
trained with at Rufus Sport for years.
very good
That's
fight.
going to be a good fight.
Very good fight. Yeah.
That kid is. He had a little stumble on the Contender Series where he didn't make weight, didn't get signed on that, and then he lost his debut up at 45 to Jonathan Pierce, right? JSP. Mm-hmm. But his last fight, he looked unbelievable. The kid can grapple. The kid's got unbelievable kickboxing. I think he's training with Henry Cejudo and those guys now out in Arizona.
When you're that good at 18, they're throwing you right to the wolves. It's just like, what, the sky's the limit for these guys. And then, there's a bunch of guys like that out there that are fighting in LFA, that are fighting in this organization.
You just go into these gyms, go into these
Yeah.
mega gyms, and just, if you watch a practice, the mats are filled with these kids. You're like, what the beating up some UFC pros and stuff, and nobody knows who they are yet because they've grown up with, that's all they know.
Right.
They don't know, oh yeah, I did Taekwondo as a kid, and then I did some boxing, and then I did X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, I do MMA.
And they get
I do
to
MMA.
watch all the best fighters ever. If you go back to like the early days of the UFC, like what are they basing their style on?
Yeah.
I mean, they basically were
Figuring it out.
Yeah, they were figuring it out as they went along. And there's also a thing with fighters where when you're operating at like fucking redlining at this, you only have a certain amount of years. Like I think there's like a principle that a lot of people try to apply. I don't think it's universal, but it's a 9-year thing that as an elite MMA fighter, you really only have like 9 years.
Yeah.
9 years where you just at the top, and then eventually, like Tony Ferguson, we were
gonna
talking
catch up.
about, or Fedor. Fedor is another great example of that.
Yeah, where you're the GOAT, you're one of the greatest heavyweights of all, and then it's just like you're getting
The wheels fall
getting
off.
beat up.
Yeah, I feel like if you go back to those days, the early days of Pride, that the Fedor that was dominating people in Pride was one of the most impressive fighters that has ever fucking lived.
Yeah.
God damn, he could do it all. He could catch you with arm bars off of his back. He would
Just-
recover from being taken down and immediately roll into Kimura like the Randleman fight.
Yeah, get smashed on his neck.
Yes.
Look like he was gonna
Yeah.
look like the person should be dead. Should be looking at a
Amazing.
dead body and then armbar.
And, again, it's like you only have so many years that you can operate at that level. How many training camps can you get through? How many times can your body take that kind of punishment?
That's why you got to get out. You got to get out, even when maybe you think, oh, I got a few more fights. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. I have 5 more fights that I could have done.
How old are you now?
38.
38. So you still, it seems like the back of your fucking head. Still
Ow.
a little bit of an ember back there.
No, it's always, but it's always going to be that. Listen, I'm trying to start an acting career. I'm trying to do a triathlon career. I'm trying to be a commentator. Yeah, well, you know what? I'm lucky though, man, because you can see why guys overstay their welcome.
Yes.
You got to
Yes.
make money. It's your job.
Yes.
You didn't know anything else anymore.
Yeah.
And then suddenly everybody's like, retire. And it's like, well, screw you. What do you mean? I'm 38. I'm 37 or 40. It's like, what do you mean retire?
Right.
What am I going to do now?
Right.
So you see why guys have to fight past that. I was super, super lucky and blessed to get the commentary job where I can think, okay, do I want to keep fighting? Why am I still fighting? And I just didn't see a picture for the belt anymore. And if I don't see a picture for the belt, I always told everyone around me, my mom, my loved ones, I said, if I don't think that I can fight and win the championship, I'll retire. And that day came.
There's fights where guys take that one too many fights, and it's just like you see it coming. Like with Frankie, it was Chris Gutierrez.
Yep.
I was like, Chris Gutierrez is so slick. He's so good.
I didn't like that fight from
I
when
did not
first
like
heard
that
it.
fight. I love watching Chris fight. Chris is so fucking smooth and technical. I just love his style, man.
He's good,
like his
man.
movement and style and all the jukes and fakes and
Just
oh.
and you're talking about a guy who has unbelievable knees. And that's been in his
Yes.
career.
Yes.
And you match him up with Frankie.
Yeah, and he catches him with the perfect knee and flatlines him for his with his kids in the audience. I'm like,
That's what I
oh,
mean. Like, and that's the other thing. A lot of people are like, why don't you come back and do a retirement fight?
No,
I'm like, why? So I can get knocked out in front of everybody that I
yeah.
love?
No, I like what you're doing. I like that you found a new thing to do.
Never been
and
knocked out.
That's amazing.
Never been knocked out.
You got
the
a
only
fucking amazing
stoppage,
chin.
The only stoppage was due to the cut. It's the only time I've been.
What fight was that?
Trinaldo.
Oh,
Peeled my whole face open. Dude, you could see the whole
yeah, the
eyebrow.
skull. Yeah, well, that's an amazing accomplishment to fight the guys that you fought. Fight Edson Barboza twice.
Oh,
Barboza's switch kick to this day, when he was in his prime, Barboza had the craziest switch kick I think I've ever seen in my life.
Oh.
It would be like you were watching a video and frames were removed or something.
Yeah. Like, how is he that fast?
It's like, it would just,
And that's exactly how it
he
feels
would
when you're
just
fighting him.
move along. And but it was interesting that like his hands never really matched the level of his kicks.
No.
Really wild, right?
Yeah. I mean, he punched me a couple times. I mean, as square on the jaw as you can hit somebody. It's like, I was never worried about his punches. It was just
Those
his
were
kicks and his knees.
preposterous. Yeah, everything.
Like even against the fence, if you're grappling for position and you just kind of dig a few in, you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the times that I knew how special Khabib truly was when Khabib got a hold of him and you saw this look on Edson's face, like this 1,000-yard stare.
Yep.
Like, what the fuck?
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, okay, I tried to do that. And that ain't easy to do to that guy.
Right.
And I've trained with Edson after the fact that I fought him the first time. And he's not an easy guy to like hold down. I mean, he's strong as shit.
Yeah.
And then you see Habib's just like,
Boom.
just sitting there,
just smash him. Just had so much control and power. What do you think happens to John Jones? When John Jones gets up to heavyweight, we've never seen him fight it. I've heard all the training room stories about him ragdolling heavyweights. John at heavyweight's going to be even better because he's not diminished by making that cut
Yeah.
to 205. And John's always, I mean, he definitely has a frame for a heavyweight. And he looks good now. He's 254, 253, big as fuck.
I'm excited about it because towards the end of his light heavyweight reign, he's kind of playing with his food a little bit out there,
bit,
right?
yeah.
And had that fight where, a lot of people think he lost, but really I think a lot of it was just him being lazy, to be honest with you. Now at heavyweight, I think we're going to see him come out and try to
Well, hopefully.
make some freaking statements.
Well, there's also, he has been out for all these years. He's been how many years now? It's been 2+ years since he's fought. And, you wonder, does he have ring rust? Does he come back hungrier? And also,
I definitely don't think he has ring rust.
but he's dealing with the most mobile and agile heavyweight in the business. 3 years. Wow. February 2020. Wow. And the Dominic Reyes fight, the last fight that he had, arguably lost that decision. I mean, many people
in
thought
the moment, I thought he lost it.
John is famous for doing just enough in training, and with some of those guys.
That's what I'm saying. I think at
Gustafsson-
heavyweight, hopefully,
well, he's training with
doesn't approach that.
Cejudo, which I really like.
Yeah.
At least he's doing some of his camp with Cejudo, which I really. Henry Cejudo is a goddamn genius. He's a fight genius.
well, I mean, you got a guy who Olympic champion, then double champion. Clearly, the man understands combat sports
He knows how
on
to win.
another level.
He knows how to win.
And he knows how to win.
And Mighty Mouse told me when he went to train with him, he said he was so impressed by how systematic he was and the game plan and strategy and how he puts everything together.
Yeah.
He said, I've never seen anybody that's so meticulous in their preparation.
Yeah, and you see that even in the fighters that he's training now on. That's why I'm excited to see him come back. I mean, put all the cringe stuff and all that, whatever.
Oh, that's kind of funny.
Right? That's his whole thing. But his skills,
undeniable. I mean, the way he chopped down Dominic Cruz, I was like, oh my god. The way he beat the fucking brakes off of T.J. Dillashaw. My god. Yeah, oh my god. I mean, he's a monster. And the fact that he comes back from Mighty Mouse beating him in the first fight, quick, stopping him early with knees to the body, and and then comes back and beats him in the second fight after getting his calf kicked out from under him. Remember?
Yeah.
He got that drop foot.
that was one
His
of the
leg
first
gave out
times
on
where
him.
we saw that. Where it was
Yes.
like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Looks like his ankle's broken. And then he
Came back and won the decision. He knows how to win. I love him and Aljamain. That is a very fascinating fight because Aljamain's strength is his grappling. Aljamain, when he gets your back, dude, there's not a better fucking person in any division. Aljamain, that backpack, woo!
Yeah, it's unbelievable
And
how
the way
does
he
that,
looked
man.
against TJ, like obviously TJ had a fucked up shoulder in that fight, but Aljamain looked like a dominant champion.
Yeah.
He looked like he's coming into his own. I mean, he's the perfect build for 35. Fucking
Big boy.
shredded at 35.
Yeah.
So muscular and strong and so talented and also just confident. Everything's together.
Yeah, and he's from the distance, which is he's so good with his kicks, right? And that's something he works on constantly because when you think about it, if you're a really strong grappler and you're a guy who you wanted to get to the ground, you've got a great wrestling base, why wouldn't you work on having those kind of weapons, those long-range weapons? Like, come on, you try to close the distance on me,
Right.
because if you don't, I'm just going to sit out here and I'm going to kick the shit out of you, literally, with my kicks.
Front kick the fuck out of your body.
I'm going to front kick you. I'm going to
Yeah.
roundhouse kick you. I'm going to learn some spinning kicks. He was working. I saw him doing a little bit of like traditional martial arts at the Apex, but that's genius.
Yeah.
Because you're forcing your opponents to have to close the distance, and you're a freaking wrestler.
Well, Cowboy was always so good at that. Cowboy would throw high kicks because his guard was so good.
Yeah.
People forget in the early days of Cowboy's
He
career,
wanted you to, yeah.
He was triangling the fuck out of people.
Yeah.
Cowboy's grappling is so underappreciated.
Bro, the amount of times that I have been choked by Donald Cerrone.
Those legs.
I hate
Also-
it. And you go at his ranch, and he's up at freaking elevation in Edgewood, New Mexico. So you're training at like 7,500 feet above sea level, coming from Philly. And then this dude's wrapping triangles and body triangles around you and just talking shit to you the whole time. You're like, God damn, I hate him.
Is this the size of him now?
Yeah, he's
a fucking
yoked up right
heavyweight
now.
now. He's so
I commented
big.
on his thing. I was like, do you even lift, dude? Like, what are you doing? He comments on all my shit. He's like, nope, no, that's where we're different. I ain't doing any of that shit.
He's not lifting?
No, of course he's
He's
definitely
gotta be
lifting.
lifting.
That's why I made a joke. I'm
He's
like, you even
gigantic
lift?
now. He's got to be 200 pounds now. He's fucking gigantic.
Yeah,
That photo of him was wearing a tank top, and you look at
he's
his
massive,
arms, like,
and he was never like that. He couldn't gain weight to save his life
yeah,
back in the day. No, you get older, man,
Mexican supplements, bro.
and some
Look at
proper
the
beef.
fucking neck on him.
Yeah,
Look at his neck. That's preposterous.
Coach Ray.
Look at that. Yeah. It's an interesting time, man. It's an interesting time to be a commentator. It's an interesting time to be a fan. There's so much talent and so much going on. And this is the only sport really in our lifetime where you can go back 20 years and it's almost unrecognizable.
Yeah.
The difference in the talent level between 2000 and 2023 is so extreme. It's so different to watch how good guys have gotten and
They're
how
everywhere.
yeah,
They're good everywhere.
Everywhere.
These
From the
kids
jump.
can do a flying knee, flying triangle, and then hit you with just a beautiful double leg and transition seamlessly in their wrestling. And they know how to do it on the fence. They know how to.
And then you know,
I hate it.
It's amazing. It's really, and you got to wonder, like, what are we looking at 10 years from now? I mean, when you got these Bonfim dudes coming in that are, one fight in the UFC and he looks like a world champion.
You're going to see some crazy good fights and some crazy finishes, man.
Yeah.
I think because as long as the competition keeps getting up like that, sometimes you're going to catch, but like McKinney to do that to.
Yes. I know,
Bro.
do that to McKinney and to catch him like that. And McKinney, to his credit, like what a class act he is. Like after the fight,
having
did shots with him and then
Yeah.
posts it, and post a photo of the two of them together. Good for him. He's
Yeah,
such a great character.
He's a good kid. He's so young. I mean, these guys, they take losses now. It's like, dude, you just don't want to see too many of those kind of knockouts early in a kid's career too. It's like, God.
Pull up that card, that March card, please. The one in Vegas, because that whole fucking card is crazy stacked.
Is this March 4th?
Yeah, the whole card is so fucking stacked.
I'll be in Vegas for that one. Not working, but I'll be doing. I'm doing like a triathlon camp out there. And we're all
Valentina
gonna get together.
Shevchenko
Yeah.
versus Alexa Grasso. That's a great fight. Jalen Turner.
Yeah, taking on Dan Hooker, dude.
Jalen Turner is a motherfucker, dude. You talk about a guy coming into his own.
Yeah.
Jalen Turner, and he as big
Jeff
as you
Neal,
can get at
Shavkat.
155.
Yeah, he's like 6'4", I think.
Bo Nickel and Jamie Pickett. Oh, I love that. I love that.
There you go, Derek
Brunson versus
Duplessis.
Dricus Duplessis. Yes. Ian Gary. He's a bad motherfucker too. I'm not a Son Kenan. Is that a debut?
No, he's had a few fights.
I haven't seen, I don't think I've commented.
I've seen
his
him,
fights.
but I think I called one of his fights.
Ian Gary's a bad motherfucker too.
And you know
man.
what? Ian had that one stand-up knockout, but I feel like his ceiling is still hasn't been reached. He hasn't really shown what he's gonna do in the UFC
No,
yet.
I don't think so either.
I still think he's got a lot to show in a good
Oh
way.
yeah. Well, he's so young. How old's Ian Gary?
He's got to be in his mid-20s.
He's young as fuck, man. He's got massive potential. 25 years old.
25.
Woo! Yeah, and tall too for the weight class. Tall
Yeah.
and slick, and Cody Garbrandt versus Julio Arce.
Yeah. I think that might have changed. I think Julio is out.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's not changed on there yet, but I think I just saw a post saying that he was out of that fight. I don't know who Cody's going to fight, but
Tough road for
there's
Cody.
another one, man.
Yeah, another
that
guy. The lead of
just
the
like,
elite at
oh
one
my
point in
God.
time, and
And then just
yeah.
a couple. Well, and I know Cody's had trouble with. I think he was knocked out really bad when he was young and up and coming too.
Yes.
So
Someone KO'd him very early on in his career, real bad.
yeah.
And so Arce injured, bounced from Cody Garbrandt
Yep.
fight. Well, still enough time. Tore
Oh
his
yeah,
ACL.
there's tons of. Oh, that's a sad.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's a bad one. So who do they get? No word whether the promotion plans to keep Garbrandt on the fight card. With Cody Garbrandt, after all those KOs, you got to wonder, like, how many more does he have left? When a guy gets KO'd a gang of times, like, there's a lot of people that it gets to a certain point in time, you're like, someone needs to step in and stop this from happening.
Yeah,
like
it was like 4 in a row or something for him. Man.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a young guy. This sport's rough on our heads to begin with.
Yeah.
But when you've been put out that's when you really got to think, hey, maybe it's time. I mean, if he goes and gets on another win streak, but
Well, Sugar Sean O'Malley was talking about this. What's that gentleman he works with, Dan Gardner? The guy, they're working on a concussion protocol, and like to rehabilitate people from concussions, and that there's things you can do to help yourself recover and heal.
yeah,
Whereas,
you think there'd got to be, right? Because
yeah,
what you can, it's got to be something with the fluids and like what causes some people to have brain damage and other people don't. That's the real issue too. Is I've talked to the doctors at the Cleveland Clinic. I've been part of a study that they do. They offer everybody in the UFC and a lot of NFL guys and all that every year you go back and you do the same series of tests and they run the same exact scans. And I went because I was having some headaches when I fought twice in a row. I fought Ross right after I fought Edson the first time. And for like a month, I had a headache. And I was like, this is not normal. Ooh. And it turns out I just had a really bad concussion that I wasn't knocked out, but it doesn't mean you don't have a concussion. And I was having all these symptoms. So I went and had all that testing done. And I just recently, last year, I went back. And it's amazing. I mean, I aced everything that I failed the first time I had went. My scans all came back clear. And I was talking to the doctor. And I was like, some of these guys will fight only a few times and have severe brain damage and all this kind of stuff. Why am I showing no signs of any of that? He's like, A lot of it's genetic and how
Look at
you're
Mark Hunt.
Yeah.
Mark Hunt, like, you know, he jokes around about it. He's like, mate, I'm Polynesian.
Yeah.
I can fucking take it.
It's just,
And
it's true, man.
It's true. Did you see Mark Hunt knock that fucking undefeated boxer out? Did you see that?
No.
Bro. Pull that up. Mark
I
Hunt,
love Mark
they
Hunt.
bring him in. He fights his cat in Australia. This guy is this undefeated, up-and-coming heavyweight boxer, young, good-looking guy. And Mark Hunt puts it on him and flatlines him in front of everybody. Crazy. Huge underdog, 40-plus years old, been through wars, former K1 Grand Prix champion.
Don't let him touch your chin.
Oh, my God. Mark Hunt, the king of the walkaway KO. So he's fighting this guy,
Look
Sonny
at the
Bill
kid.
Williams.
Jacked out of his mind.
Jack, big, tall. Look at him. And
Mark looking like he's suffering through it.
And it's a boxing match too, by the way. You know, it's not. He doesn't even get to kick you with those fucking tree trunks. And Mark Hunt stopped him, and it was crazy. I mean, Mark Hunt was brought in. He caught him with that right hand. Mark Hunt was brought in to be the big name. Look at that left hook, boom, right hand, drops him. Dude, that's a huge win, a huge win. And I don't know if Mark Hunt's going to fight again, and that might be the end of it. But this dude gets back up, and Mark Hunt puts it on him. Mark Hunt, one of the last guys. Oh, look at that right hand. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Look at that left hook. Oh, that's it.
He can't even argue.
Mark motherfucking Hunt. What a savage. What a savage he is. What a fucking savage.
Yeah, that dude is.
You know, and he had that crazy lawsuit. I don't know what happened with that.
I know. Yeah. I don't know what happened with it either.
But these legends, man, you know, it's such an honor to be around these guys and just to get to see.
Oh, dude, I've gotten to call a couple of his fights, and every time I interviewed him, I'm just like, bro,
Mark motherfucking
like,
Hunt.
I'm happy to just
Just be
calling
talking
your
to him.
fight, dude.
Yeah, man.
I've been watching him do pride fights, kickboxing fights, you know, doing shit like that for the longest time.
He took a crow cop high kick. He took a crow cop high kick right on the fucking dome and just got up.
Yeah,
I mean, who does that? No one else.
No.
Crow cop cracks you. I mean,
that was another one, man, that I loved him back in the day. And then he
my
comes
God.
over to the UFC and it just doesn't. It didn't pan out. I was so excited when he was coming over because I'm, you know, coming from a striking background, that left kick, I'm like, hell yeah. And just.
Remember when he fought Heath Herring and his shin disappeared in Herring's body.
Yeah.
His left shin just went so deep in his body. There's a photo of Crow Cop landing that left body kick. And
it's just like folded over it.
It's literally like inside his rib cage. It's so deep into his body cavity.
And that's the left kick, man.
Oh my God! Look at this photo. Look at that. Look at that.
Oh yeah,
dude. Are you fucking kidding
You're
me?
peeing a lot of blood after that one,
dude. Crow Cop's power kick, that left kick. You know, he would say right kick, hospital, left kick, cemetery.
Yep.
My God, that kick was so insane. When you see that image of that thing, and remember when he knocked out Vanderlei? He lands that high kick on Vanderlei and flatlines him.
Split him open too, didn't he?
Oh my God, yeah, giant. Yeah, here's the like.
Oh, well, I mean, you know, what are you doing?
The dude with the mask
With
on.
the fucking
Dos
mask
Caros.
on.
Yeah, that was very unnecessary. But that's also pride. Look at that fucking boom.
Oh, right off.
Bounced
he
it
would
off the
skip
top.
it right off the
Yep.
top of your head.
Wait, get it over your gloves, man. I mean, Mirko Crow Cop. I mean, he had such a perfect style to transition from kickboxing to MMA because he was so explosive. Whereas like some guys, they were more technical and they would set things up more. Like I don't know if a guy like Ernesto Hoost would have been the best guy, or a guy like Peter Ertz would have been the best guy to come over to MMA. But he was the best guy to show what an elite level, top of the food chain kickboxer would look like. Fighting in MMA. There it is.
Oh,
Boom.
that's a bad one. I remember that one.
Emelianenko.
Yeah, it's
Fedor's brother.
Fedor's brother.
Alexander. But the Vanderlei Silva one was my favorite. Dude, he was so good. So there it is.
Yeah,
Boom.
man, it's another one that skips off.
Yeah.
It skips off the top of your freaking head.
He was so clever in how he set it up. Boom.
See ya.
Oh my God.
Good night.
And that was the Pride Days. The Pride Days were fucking amazing.
Well, dude, it was just like calling Shogun's retirement fight. Speaking of another case where
too many.
calling your last fight, saying I'm gonna. It's just never Never going to work out.
Well, Shogun, like you could see, like all the wars are like you could see it on him. His
And
body doesn't
he's
look
only
right.
like, I think he's 41 now or something like that.
But he's 41 in Valley Tudo years.
That's what dude. Just think about the fights in the gym
Oh my God.
that guy went through.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, those old days with the Shoot the Box Academy, they would go to war.
They were trying to knock each other out
every day. Every day. Yeah.
and that's not good for longevity of the career.
No.
But I mean, that's even when I was coming up, there was still a lot of that going on, man.
Oh, yeah.
Guys just. I would get into fist fights we were just trying to knock each other out, and I'd look back, I'm like, that's so stupid.
So stupid.
It's so
Yeah.
stupid.
But I mean, what do you think is the balance though? Because I think there has to be some hard sparring just to prepare you.
100%. So I think you have to pick moments to do it, and I think you have to kind of really have that be the day that you're doing those rounds, right? And also have people that you're sparring with that are kind of trying to simulate the fight. Whereas if you're just going around the room and sparring everybody in the room that day, like most gyms do now, where it's like you just, let me grab this partner, let me grab that partner. You're not getting the look for your fight. You're getting pissed off. Somebody hits you with something, you end up going to battle with them. Whereas if it's more secured, kind of like how pro boxers do everything, where you have your sparring partners, that day is set up, you're greased up, you have somebody in the ring. I think it needs to be very formalized like that when you're going to have your hard days. So that you're not just off in the corner getting into a slugfest with some dude that's having, a dick measuring contest with you, basically.
Isn't that's the hard conversation too about what kind of camp do you go to? If you're an up and coming fighter, do you go to ATT where you got like 15 dudes who just flew in from Russia and they're staying in the dorms and they're fucking assassins?
You get spinning back fisted to death.
Or do you start out at a small gym? I had this conversation with Joaquin Buckley where he's talking about he likes smaller gyms because he gets individualized training and he gets a coach who's really looking at his development.
Yeah.
And setting up his camp like this. You're going to spar with this guy because this guy's going to emulate this for you.
Yeah,
and
we're even going to bring in guys because there's not enough guys here, and you're probably the best guy in the room.
Right.
You need to. I think that is the way to go, and I think being able to bring people in to work with you as well, and keep a good relationship with other fighters and other camps to kind of share sparring partners and bringing people in so that you need to get the look that you want for that fight. And I didn't, like, in hindsight, that's so overlooked, I think. It's just you just fight anybody. It's like, well, on the day somebody can get hurt, you might be stepping in. It's like, yeah, but
is that optimal though? I mean, sometimes it is because sometimes that makes your career. Sometimes you get that last minute fight, you step up, you win the fight, and then it rockets your career forward.
Yeah.
You take that chance. You have that. I mean, Jamal Hill.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that 5-round fight.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, fighting for the title.
You definitely have to be ready.
What a crazy move the UFC does, right? Ankalaev and Blachowicz have this fight, goes to a draw, which is just unheard of, right? Everyone's like, what? And then Dana gets pissed. Fuck it. You guys are going to fight for the title.
You're both
now.
out.
And like, what? Now Glover and him are fighting in Brazil for the title.
But what a great fight, man.
What an amazing fight. And for Jamal, that's the perfect opportunity. Like, what an opportunity. He goes in there and fights in Glover's hometown and wins the title.
Yeah, and Anthony Smith gets kind of cast to the side, and
well, Anthony didn't make weight either,
bro,
which is worse because Anthony was the substitute.
Yeah, he was talking to me too, and he really felt like it was going to plan, but there's no motivation, man. That's where those things are tricky too, right? It's like, what are you pushing yourself in that sauna for? It's like,
right,
you're not fighting.
Glover's never gonna fall out of a fight.
No, and
But
Jamal's not exactly
he's not
it's his opportunity right now, and he was dialed in the whole week, and Anthony knows that.
Right.
So that's, I feel like there was just a little bit of lack of motivation, unfortunately. Although
perhaps
it's free money.
It's free money, but it's also like, God damn, man, what a brutal thing to do to your body for no reason.
And then I don't know.
But
does he get anything?
But the day of the fight, the day of the weigh-ins, rather, they should know. Like Jamal, like he should know. Like, I don't have to make the weight. Don't make the weight.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to be I mean, what's going to happen? What could happen between the weigh-in and the fight? It's so rare.
It would have to be a stomach issue.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Or
you know what I mean?
someone is so fucked up from the weight cut.
That they just don't come
start
back
fainting.
from it. And Glover, at this point in his career, is not that guy. He's
No.
dialed in.
No,
Jamal was dialed in.
Dialed in. Yeah, Jamal doesn't lose a lot of weight either.
No.
Jamal's
And-
pretty light.
And
for-
he brought in Ian, and like he had him cooking for him the whole damn time. Like he was not going to miss weight.
Yeah.
He was not going to miss weight for that opportunity.
Yeah, it's hard.
I've never been the backup for anything like that. I've never had to go through that.
When
so.
did they start doing that?
I'm trying to think.
Fairly recently, right? Like within the last 5 or 6 years.
I know, like when Habib and Tony, when that kept falling out, I think that's when they were like, you know what, we should probably start having some backups for these types of situations.
Yeah.
And there's been another time where somebody missed really bad. We were talking about how, oh my God, I'm going to blank on his name.
What weight class?
Welterweight. Vicente Luque took a backup spot on like super short notice. I think he missed by like 12 pounds or something.
Oh God. Oh no. Well, some of those guys are so fucking big.
They're so big, and they're like, it's a hard opportunity to turn down, right? It's like, hey, listen, you might fight, but chances are you're not. But we're going to pay you to fight.
Well, I mean, there's guys like Pereira that can't make weight unless you give him 3 months, which is so.
And I think
bonkers.
Vicente was in that department where it was like, I'm not going to make this on. I think it was super short notice that he took it. And I could be also talking out of my ass right now.
Where Hamzat was talking about he wants to fight Pereira, and Pereira's like, good, let's fight a light heavyweight in Brazil.
72 hours?
72 hours ago that it was in that position. Didn't feel that. Interesting.
Just chill, son, explaining the backup fighter. I was trying to find the history of it, and as you were talking, they're talking about
Interesting.
the Luque thing.
Interesting. Yeah, that's crazy.
Vicente Luque, backup fighter, coming in at 100. Oh.
No, not that bad. He only came in at
Who
172.
told me 12 pounds?
Maybe he had to lose 12 pounds in a day or something like that.
I'm gonna have to find that source and get mad at them now.
What do you think of Kamaru Usman rematch and Leon Edwards in London?
I love that it's in London for Leon,
For Leon, yeah.
I just, based on how that fight was going the first time, I think Kamaru's going to go in there and be much more dialed in and not allow a moment like that to happen again. And I think he's going to be able to pull it off and win.
Well, it's hard to say, man, because when you watch a guy like Leon Edwards realize that he could KO Kamaru with one shot,
Yeah.
and then he pulls it off and did it, and also took him down in the first round. Now he's the champion. He's got that championship confidence, that championship rub.
Yeah.
You know, like, who knows?
I agree.
I
I think he's going to have a lot more confidence coming into this one, and the London crowd is a real thing. I mean,
oh yeah,
the last few that I've worked there, man, they make Brazil seem quiet anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, that crowd there is
They
just
get hyped.
crazy.
And then you also have to realize that one of the beautiful things that Leon's done is he did it all from home. Like he really didn't join American Top Team or TriStar. He didn't join a big camp.
No, he tried and he hated it.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be away from home, and he just and we've talked to him a lot about this, and he realized that he can be at home working with good wrestlers and doing all that kind of stuff and focused on himself and not going away to America just to work his wrestling. It's like, how about you develop everything else and become a better fighter for the style that you're going to bring to the table, as opposed to trying to put yourself into this American style wrestling camp and just not working on yourself. You know, and you go to these big gyms, especially, early on in his career, and you're just getting, go over here and work with so-and-so. You're not getting that attention. You stay back home in England, and you're the star pupil. You got everybody working around you.
Yeah, the amount of hype that's going to be on that. And then there's the other thing is with Kamaru. Kamaru is famous for having knee problems. Like, he has horrendous knees.
Yeah, he can't even walk down steps, right?
Yeah,
he walks down steps
backwards. Yeah, which is crazy that when he fights, he puts that all out the window. But when Leon took him down, he tripped him on his bad knee.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, both his knees are fucked, but one of his knees is worse. And he trips him on his bad knee, and his knee folds over, and he goes back down. And, Kamaru's been pretty open about it, saying, I don't know how much longer my body's going to hold up.
Yeah.
He's also been pretty open about the fact that when his career's done, he's probably going to get his knees replaced. He's probably going to have to. I mean, his knees are chewed up, man.
Yeah.
Real bad.
Yeah, I remember being at, we did a thing, the UFC, when they were getting ready to start the PI at Exos, I think, out in Arizona, which is like a, kind of like the Performance Institute, but for, NFL players trying to get back into the big league, players in their off season or rehabbing. And it was me, him, and Max Holloway and Kelvin Gastelum, actually, that were all part of the group. And they used to send a bunch of us to kind of test it out and give feedback on all that. And yeah, it's amazing that he's dominated the way he has with those knees.
Oh my God, it's just mental strength.
Because
it's his mind. He just pushes through. And Will Harris, who has done an amazing job of documenting, the Dagestan Chronicles, and Will's the best. He's the best when it comes to MMA, documentaries and covering these guys. Like, he's such a good guy that everybody lets him in. They trust him, and then he gets all this behind the scenes footage.
Oh yeah.
He's got footage of Kamaru where Kamaru was openly talking about it. I don't know how much longer my body's going to hold up.
Yeah. It's all the wrestling for years and years and years. And just genetics, right? Might just, once those knees go early and then you just pound on them. And just wrestling in general, man, especially freestyle like that.
Brutal. So many guys have blown out knees by the time their career's over.
Yeah. That necks. They're just necks.
Oh, yeah.
Even just anybody that's ever done any kind of grappling.
Well, how about Aljamain? Aljamain has a fake disc in his neck.
And that's you see a lot of guys have that kind of injury.
Weidman has that.
Yeah, man. Even an old coach of mine, I remember him having his neck fused together back. That's scary, man.
Bas Rutten, that's the beginning of his problems. He got his neck fused, and now his arm.
And then you have no range. You start losing. Yeah, you start losing feeling in your arm.
Scary shit.
Yeah. No thanks.
It's a wild way to live your life, to decide that for the glory and the challenge and just the overwhelming difficulty of becoming a world-class fighter or a world champion fighter, that you put yourself through so much.
It's funny that you bring that kind of up, because it's hard to talk to people about why you do it if you don't understand it, right? Like, if you've never done combat sports or ever have that desire to fight and just be one of the best, it looks crazy to anybody on the outside.
Yes.
We look like we're absolutely lunatics, but it's competition to us. I don't look at a fight and think, I'm going to fucking kill that person because I just want to be violent. It's like, I want to be better than that person. You want to achieve something that's seems crazy to other people. And I think that's what obsesses a lot of us about it, is that you want to do something that 99% of the people in this world are terrified of doing. And walking to that cage is definitely one of the scary things. Aside from anybody active military and does all that kind of stuff,
that's another level.
That's what I can't imagine.
Yeah. That's
and any of my friends that have served and done that, they're like, man, I don't know how you fight and do this. I'm like, what, bro?
Crazy.
You fought in wars.
Right.
What are you talking about?
That's the highest level.
That's
and
the
those
highest
guys,
level.
It's the same sort of situation. They oftentimes want to go back.
Yeah.
It's like the thrill of that.
Yep. I can't imagine, because I know what it's like to want that fight feeling, to want that desire to get your hand raised, whether good, bad, or ugly, and you have a depression when it's done, man. And I'm sure you've heard other fighters talk about this. Whether you win or lose, you build up to this moment, this fight camp. I'm fighting this guy. I'm going to get to the octagon, and then it's done. Yeah. And you're like, oh.
Well,
now what?
Times 10 with most people at the end of their career.
Yeah.
Because now what?
Yeah, now the big now what?
Yeah, what do you do? And that's one of the things that I think is beautiful about what you've done. You've found something that's a challenge that can occupy your mind and your will and learn things.
And it's the same feeling though. When that race is done and I cross that finish line, as soon as it's done, you're like, oh. And everybody around's like, you fucking got your PR. That's great. You had your best run. You did this, or your swim was really good. And it's like,
now what?
I want to go faster. It's not fast enough.
Well, the guys are the real wild ones. I've always wondered, how does John Jones deal with retirement? Like, is John's
Yeah.
so wild? Like, what is John going to do when it's all done? I mean, for the last 3 years, John has been thinking, okay, I'm going to build up to become a heavyweight.
Yeah,
he goes
he
in this
still had a goal.
extensive weightlifting program.
Yeah.
Obviously, put in all this work to get so big, and really built himself up to be a legitimate heavyweight. And now, I mean, and also John is what, 36 now? How old
Yeah.
is John now?
I don't know.
How old is John Jones? When you go back to John Jones's first fight with Shogun, fighting for the world title, I always say this, one of the wildest things I've ever seen. The guy's fighting for the world title, youngest guy, 35, youngest guy ever to win the title. He opens up against a legend with a flying knee.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just wild.
Yeah, you can't.
John was just wild.
And doing
It is.
that on like
Yeah.
an hour of sleep. You know what I mean? Dude, I can remember even back at Jackson's when we'd be there, he'd come rolling in and you could, I didn't know him personally then, so I don't know what he was doing, but you could tell
Partying.
he was probably partying and he'd come in and just
Beat everybody's ass.
clean the room, man.
Talent.
Just
Yeah,
no
it's-
issue.
Talent is not fair in its distribution. It's just not.
No.
Not
mean,
at all.
And that's why so many people get so pissed. 'Cause
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I did everything right. And
Yeah.
this guy rolls in and kicks your ass.
Yeah. I'm very curious to see how he handles Cyril Gahn. Because Cyril Gahn is so fucking smooth and fast on the feet. The KO of Tai Tuivasa.
Bro,
like,
the kicks
my
that he was
God.
showing in that one,
My God.
the body work.
My God. But
Crazy.
then you have to think Francis out-wrestled him and took him down.
That's the big.
Yeah. And if Francis can take him down and out-wrestle him,
What the hell is John Jones?
what
gonna
is
do
John
with
Jones
it?
going to do with him?
Yeah.
Or is John Jones as effective as a heavyweight as he
Because
was
of
at
the
a lightweight?
size. That's
Because
the
of
thing. It's
size.
like, well, Francis might not be the strongest wrestler, but he's humongous.
Right.
So
Right.
even though he might not have the technical skills that John does, just
Physical strength and
that's what I
dominant
keep
power.
saying to everybody that asks me any questions about that one. I'm like, we're gonna
find
I
out.
don't know. This is truly one where we don't know. We have nothing to base it on because
Right.
we can hear Jim's stories about how he handled heavyweights, but what's that like in the octagon on fight
Right.
night?
Also, Cyril Gahn's had ample opportunity to prepare for that kind of wrestling strategy. Whereas I bet with Francis Ngannou, he didn't think Francis was going to try to take him
No,
down.
not like that.
He probably didn't prepare for a grappling match at all. Probably prepared for movement and try
Yeah.
to outpoint him.
And then suddenly you find yourself
Yeah.
getting put on your back, and you're like, oh.
And then you got to think like athleticism. Cyril Gahn is so athletic, and he's such a good striker. When was the last time John fought a guy who was that athletic and a good striker? Well, that's Dominic Reyes.
yeah, and it gave
Dominic
him a lot of trouble.
Gave him a lot of trouble. And Dominic Reyes is another one, right? Like at the top of the heap, and then all of a sudden, boom, he just keeps getting flatlined.
And he's still talking about his next fight and coming back. I'll be back. I'm like,
Bro, Ryan Spann is a motherfucker, dude. There's a guy that's super talented, and when he's training and in shape,
yeah. Well, he said he's not even been.
yeah, so he
Training.
wasn't even training. Bro, he knocked him out with like a kind of a jab hook.
Yep.
But it's just the speed and precision and
Yeah, he's a freak.
he's a freak. You get these guys that are just like super fucking talented that just find their place.
It's funny to see when they realize, oh, hey, I can be a lot better if I train. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, no shit, dude. I can't believe it took you
Yeah.
this long. Oh, I never even trained. I'm like,
Yeah, and you talk to Saif Saud and he'll tell you like you ain't even seen the best of this guy yet.
Yeah.
Like he's fucking good. It's just like what a wild time. It's a wild time for the sport.
yeah, it's good.
So exciting.
It's very exciting.
All right, Paul Felder, I'm glad we did this, man. We've been talking
Dude.
about doing this for a while. It was a lot of fun.
I know, man. And, it was the thing. I never wanted to be that guy that was going to bug you about it. I'm like, I get to see Joe. I talk to Joe. I work with him. When the time is right, he'll eventually ask me to do this thing. And here we are, and we did it.
We did it.
So
Thank you
thanks,
very much
bro.
for being on, man. So when are we working together again? Do you know?
I don't know.
Do you know when the next one you're calling?
Well, I mean, I know I'm doing the 18. I'm doing Sanhagen and Vera.
Oh,
Is the next one I'm working,
I was
yeah.
actually thinking of flying in for that.
Oh, if you're going to
I want not even. I want to go to watch.
just go watch. Yeah.
Yeah, that's on February 18th.
Yeah, it's at the Apex.
Yes, I fucking love that fight. I fucking love. Oh my God, Krylov and Spann, February 25th. Woo, that's also at the Apex.
Yeah.
Woo, I like that fight.
And Krylov is.
Krylov is a
I
bad
like
man.
that dude, man.
I was so surprised he stopped Gustafsson like that. just stormed the gates and just came out guns blazing and
He's
put Gustafsson
powerful,
one.
man.
Sanhagen and Vera is a fight.
Yeah.
That is a fucking intriguing contest.
That's going to be bloody.
That was the one where I was like, man, I might fly in for that one. And Talia Santos versus Erin Blanchfield.
Blanchfield, man.
Woo!
She's tough.
She's fucking good, dude. Very exciting. But
and Benoit Saint-Denis, that kid's good too, man. This French special forces guy. He's talented.
Yes, he is. It's a great time to be a fan, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate
you.
you. Great working with you always.
Thank you,
Fun
sir.
hanging out. All right. Bye, everybody.